We're live, pal.
Hey, look at that. No Christmas tree to be found.
Hey, it's like we're right next to each other.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Just look.
Oop,
There we go.
my
Yeah.
hand disappeared. Magic.
Welcome to Pro Wrestling Simulated, the 500. We are back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
I'm Mike. That's Pat. And man, a lot of wrestling happened.
Yeah.
A lot of wrestling happened.
Yeah, lots to
We
talk
caught
about
up for
since,
sure.
since
Holy
last
cow. The holiday weekends always just, they take over everything, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And our love of pro wrestling has to be put aside for a little bit so that we can act like human beings for a little bit.
Overrated.
And then when New Year's shows up, everything is back to, we had Wrestle Kingdom, we had Impact's Hard to Kill, we had so much stuff, just so much stuff, and a lot of stuff happens in the world of wrestling in general.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to all of that, of course. But welcome back to our tournament, as it were. We've got, of course, 10 more matches for you to continue on this fantastic, insane conglomerate of world wrestling and entertainment. Hopefully we bring the entertainment part.
Hopefully.
We'll leave the wrestling.
Hopefully the matches are entertaining too.
Yeah, we'll leave the wrestling to the wrestlers.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yep.
I have not had the best amount of sleep, Pat, if you can tell.
I, on the other hand, slept fantastic last night. First night back in my own bed since December 15th. It was great. It was man, I feel like $1 million, except I also feel like I'm pushing 40 because, I wake up and everything hurts. But
I mean, that's why I've said, like, after 35, just like everything hurts. After it just there's nothing can stop it
all the time.
I'll tell you what. I did enjoy at least staying awake to watch Hard to Kill last night. It was a good show. Impact has been really kind of flying under the radar with great shows.
Mm-hmm.
And last night, they opened up with first of all, the former Tom Phillips. I can never remember his real last name.
Hannafin,
yes. Took over for Matt Stryker on the play-by-play commentary, sitting alongside D'Lo Brown. They opened up the show with a 5 knockout
Ultimate
X match, yes. And, we watch wrestling all the time where people are hitting the mat left, right, center.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine doing that up top from like a 10, 15-foot drop, just like straight down onto your back. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what Tasha Steelz did when she grabbed the X and just booked it, right? Yeah. Like right down. And I don't know why that particular fall took like the wind out of me, just because I've seen so many. I mean, I thought I saw Rey Fenix break his arm on Rampage. Thankfully, it was just a dislocation. You don't want either, but still, he's not going to be out for months with a dislocation. But I've seen people go through flaming tables, and I'm like, yeah, okay, because I don't know what it is. It's like just because there was no like real like hoopla surrounding just a straight fall.
It's just the match is over. I'm gonna fall down.
Yeah.
It reminds me of I don't remember which of the ladder matches it was, but one of the tag ladder matches from the early 2000s when Jeff Hardy pulls down the belt and then just like falls off the ladder. And we're done.
And I'm done.
And earlier in the match, somebody fell off of the X onto Steelz, which was kind of a scary spot.
It did not look good. But it was a great match.
Rebound.
But the whole card was really, really well put together. Main evented by Mickey James, the current Knockouts and still Knockouts champion, defending against New Jersey's own Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa. Successfully defending in a Texas death match, and which means that she is going into the Royal Rumble as the Impact Knockouts champion. I know that's a weird sentence to say out loud, but it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah.
odd to me. I have mixed emotions about this. Now, if you're not aware, Mickey James was announced to be one of the roster members for this year's Women's Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey James is the current Impact Knockouts World Champion. She was infamously, disgracefully fired from WWE,
Mm-hmm.
where her belongings were put in a trash bag and sent to her.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not a good look on WWE, to say the
No.
least. And a lot of people were rightfully on Mickey James's side. Yes, you deserve better than this. And she resulted from that momentum, making the first all women's card for NWA
Mm-hmm.
with Empower,
Oh, yeah.
and then her run right now with Impact. Her return to it has been really great. I know there was a statement that was put out by Impact that's saying this is what it worked out, the stars aligned, everyone was copacetic on it. Cool. From I don't know why my screen freezes so much lately, but from a business perspective, if I'm one of the many recent women's wrestlers that were cut
Mm-hmm.
in this wave from the
Mm-hmm.
past year, from the past
Your
12
Mia
months,
Yim or Taya Valkyrie or
I'd be mad.
I would as well.
I'd be upset that not only is a spot being taken by a person worth
A
being
legend.
able to take the
Yeah.
spot, absolutely
One of the
a
all-time
legend,
greats.
but someone who's doing it's tough because like I respect Mickey James as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I question the way that this is going to look on her in the future and how history will look back at this. If I'm Taya Valkyrie, if I'm BFAB, if I'm anybody who recently got cut, and seeing someone else get in that position when you had a roster full of women, both NXT,
Mm-hmm.
Raw, SmackDown, just all three. Now they announced Summer Rae, who has not been on television, it feels like, in centuries.
I don't think she's been on TV since last year's Women's Rumble.
Yeah.
I think that was same with Kelly.
And I'm sure that they're going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
But why? When you have a roster.
Yeah. Why release Mia
That's
Yim?
what's upsetting.
Why release BFAB? Why release Taya Valkyrie? Yeah. I did the math. Mike and I spoke about this a couple days ago. I went through and I counted every woman on the active roster and came up with 24. But that's counting both champions and the tag team champions and Bayley, who's hurt, and Lacey Evans, who's on maternity leave, and Asuka, who is not on TV, and Sonya Deville, who is in a non-wrestling role, although it's pretty clear they're building to something with her and Naomi.
I don't know, because all of a sudden she started hating on Naomi and everyone's just like, where did that come from?
Yeah. If both women's titles are defended and there's a women's tag match, that takes, which there may well be, that takes 8 of the 24 that they have out of the Rumble, leaving them with 16. Now, let's also take out, assuming we're not going to get a surprise return from Lacey Evans or Bayley or Asuka, that leaves us with 13 for a Rumble match of 30. Now, you can use some NXT women. Yeah. Have Mandy Rose, have Toxic Attraction show up. There's always a couple of NXT people in it. Yeah. But is the NXT women's roster deep enough to support 17 women in the Women's Royal Rumble?
And how many of them who literally have just started? Like Tiffany Stratton,
exactly.
Or just anyone. Like it's
so we're going to see the
Ugh.
Bellas and Lita and Kelly and Michelle McCool and Summer Rae and Mickey James,
But what do
because
you get out of that?
they
Like,
don't have a roster.
what is the what is the return
Yeah.
in that other than that's their name and they're showing up,
Mm-hmm.
but
You get a
long
nostalgia
term,
pop.
long term for your programming, which they never obviously think ahead.
No.
What is the end game?
Well, the entire WWE product for the last probably 15 years has been built around, remember nostalgia? Wasn't it great?
Oh, it's all member berries.
Because there is no
Use that
the
wonderful
joke
South
was
Park
like,
episode.
you go back and you watch like the 1992 Royal Rumble. It's like, is the Berserker going to WrestleMania? Like,
No,
obviously no.
no, the
But
Berserker was never going to go to
the Berserker was
WrestleMania.
never going, but the Berserker was an active member of the roster.
Right.
The Berserker could have had a match at WrestleMania
in
that
the legitimate sport world that it's presenting itself to be at the time, as a competitor, they have a chance just by
Yes.
the very nature of the match.
Right. Kelly is not winning the Royal Rumble.
No.
Kelly does not have a better chance of main eventing WrestleMania than Mia Yim would have, or
And the
Taya
Berserker
Valkyrie,
now.
or Beagle. Yeah. It's just
it's odd. I mean, you and me are all for cross promoting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The
If
Forbidden Door is
Impact
one of the best things to happen to wrestling in years.
Yeah, if Impact does build up this relationship with WWE to be able to do that, good on them. There was even a tease last night when Trey Miguel had his entrance for his X Division match, which was fantastic. I again, it was one of those matches that shows what happens when WWE drops the ball on a talent.
Yeah,
Because
Steve Macklin is a star in the making.
Out of the gate was just like, I went, whoa, because I did not expect him to start the match with literally diving out of the ring like a bullet.
Yep.
And it just surprised me.
Better.
But like Trey Miguel's entrance kind of harkened back to his days with the Rascals, currently MSK in NXT. And I was like, okay, was that just like a nice little nod? Because even D'Lo Brown was like, are we in the multiverse? Like, I swore I just saw the Rascals just then. And it's like, okay, cool. If they're building to some kind of like
a
partnership of sorts, great. But don't do it at the expense of being able to build new talent and taking away people's work, their livelihood.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it in the second half, but there's a lot to be said about recent business practices that are being exposed more and more with the number one company in the world right now. But moving on to happier things. Ring of Honor made a huge presence at Impact last night. First off, I'm not sure how they're referring to the belt, but I've seen it called like the Classic World Championship or the Historic World Championship. I've seen was being called that. But it was a great title defense as Jonathan Gresham defended against Chris Sabin. And they actually, people thought like, oh, that's just a throwaway match. I'm like, no, they actually found a way to tie it in because 3 years ago, Sabin had been owed a world title match, and Sabin then went off. He had gotten injured. He wasn't able to be as active on Ring of Honor, obviously with all the pandemic stuff, and then coming back to Impact, so the exclusivity. But then Gresham, under Pure Wrestling rules, which they did a great way of displaying for new audiences. And
it was a nice touch bringing in Bobby Cruz for the ring intro and Ian Riccoboni to call it.
It was real like, hey, this is not just in name that we're doing this.
Right.
It was like this is the Ring of Honor is visiting over.
Right. Sorry, I'm adjusting my camera here.
And no, it was a great match. And Gresham went over with a smart use of forcing Sabin to do different rope breaks, and eventually got him with a submission victory. I think that's
he's
right. also now 12-3 in Pure Wrestling matches. Like it was really cool for them to put over that record. So that was a nice, like, everyone thought, oh, okay, that was the Ring of Honor appearance, as it were. At the end of the Hardcore War match, Heath and his team able to get a victory over Violent by Design. And out of nowhere, Matt Taven and Mike.
Bennett.
I always wanted to say Kanellis,
Yeah.
but he
WWE
is
conditioning.
on one side. But Mike
Yeah.
Bennett, the OG Kingdom,
Yep.
showed up and beat the hell out of Heath and Rhino.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, Vincent and PCO, who these four guys never had an association before. And
well, Vincent,
I mean,
Taven was part of the kingdom, but
part
yeah,
of the kingdom.
aside, they've been feuding for months.
Yeah,
so.
that's the thing. Is like they came together to like really like. Now it's me wondering: are these four signed to Impact as a stable along with Maria Kanellis, or is this now the beginning of a Ring of Honor invasion? And it could go either way. I would like to see because they made very clear about being like a four horseman type of of group, with PCO being like that enforcer Frankenstein creature that he is.
Yes.
And Vincent looking like the Rob Zombie wrestler. Yes. And I'm curious to see how that unfolds, but it was definitely a big shock, especially seeing Maria there too. Bennett had already been part of Impact for like a hot minute. But I think that they can do a lot better in there now. And I love Matt Taven. I think he's just untapped superstar potential for anywhere he goes. Moose had a really good triple threat title match against Matt Cardona and W. Morrissey. W. Morrissey, by the way, again, another guy showing off this is what you let go of. And also good on him for like really like just cleaning himself up, getting himself in best physical conditioning, and really just being like, I'm your guy, folks.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see that everyone who kind of like threw some shade on him when he showed up, they were really getting around to him by the end of that match.
Yeah.
And Moose has a very interesting kind of cult following because he's hated in the right ways because he's just a bastard in the ring. But people are drawn to him, and I love that. And Cardona is like a bit of a hometown hero. I love his entrance video is his action figure in like a stop motion style doing his pose. Chelsea Green got in some action in there too, Mrs. Cardona. But Chelsea Green was really good, really did well that night. The whole show I thought was really good, and then the main event was brutal. I was really surprised with the Ring of Honor involvement, and I thought it was an overall good show. I decided to watch that instead of Battle of the Belts live. Ended up watching that this morning. And Battle of the Belts surprised me as well. First of all, small nitpicking. It's so pedantic, but it's something that bothers me. The title alone. Shouldn't it be Battle for the Belts?
The belts themselves are not battling,
because that feels like it's implying champion versus champion.
Yes,
and that's not obviously what's happening.
No,
and I understand he's going for Clash of the Champions,
right?
Like it's obvious, it's just very obvious. Battle of the Belts, like it's a cute name, but it's not like. There could have been, I don't know. It just some small grammatical change. And if they do change it and just kind of brush it under the ways, nobody will care.
No.
It'll make more sense, but it's the most pedantic of complaints. But
well, it's like how for years WWE couldn't decide if it was Hell in a Cell or Hell in the Cell.
Right.
Before they finally settled on a cell.
Yeah.
Even though it's the only cell they ever use.
It's only the cell.
It is the cell.
There's a chamber and there's a cell. So it's like there's and a cage. Yeah. Sammy versus Dustin for the interim championship was incredible. That is probably one of the best matches that Sammy has put on since debuting at Dynamite. The women's match was really well told, really well put together. The FTW match, I could have taken or leave it,
Yeah.
And to be honest, I could have left it because now I get it. I'm sure TNT was like, we can only give you an hour for these. And they thought, we kind of thought these were going to be a 2-hour special thing. And they probably did want to put all the matches on the like all the belts on the line.
Right.
There was not one presence of the world champion on your first show.
Yeah.
Now, granted,
or your brand new TBS champion.
Right. But if it's on TNT, wouldn't you want the main event to be the TNT title match?
You would think.
Like I get like with trying to. There's this weird fascination, and my friends who watch sports overseas was like, why is American television so obsessed with thinking that Americans are going to change the channel so much? I'm like, I don't know. It's not that way anymore because everything is on demand.
Yeah, it's an old way.
I look
of thinking.
So much taller
never,
than you, by the way. Every time,
shockingly, Americans never growing out of an old habit.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden we're just so like, oh, we got to get their attention. We got to get their attention. I to me, it's like, and I don't want one. I never wanted one belt to be seen better than the other.
Right.
I think though, if you had reversed the order of, just because of the importance of what was around the TNT belt at that moment, had Cody not been sick and had, or rather, he's not sick. He's just being isolated because he
right.
Been with a family that had gotten tested positive.
Yeah.
So he's taking the safe precautions. Good on him.
As you should.
Had that not have been, I'm sure
that's
he
why
would
the
have been the
Iconics
main
didn't
event.
have a match at Hard to Kill.
Yeah. And had the situation been different, I'm sure like it could have been a main event ending. But any of the championships are worthy of the main event, which is great on AEW. I particularly would have liked to have seen exactly like maybe both the TBS and the TNT championship on the line, as well as the women's championship. And even if it's just an exhibition, you could have thrown the tag team champs in there too. Why not?
Especially since they just crowned new champions 3 days ago. Yeah.
FTR with the AAA championship could at least have been in there as well. I'm not I'm not trying to discredit anything that Mr. Sparks has done. I'm just saying that the FTW championship not being a recognized championship, being placed over the world championship. Again, small, tiny things, but whatever. And you saw Wrestle Kingdom, but at double speed.
I did, yes. So I watched day one in real time. So
it's still going on.
I got to see the Okada Takagi match, the Desperado Takahashi, Yo and Show, Shibata's return. I saw all of that in real time. But night two, just due to time constraints and streaming and upload speeds, I didn't have time to devote 5 hours last night to night two of Wrestle Kingdom. So I did watch it at double speed on NJPW World. So I may have missed some nuance in the matches, but I did see them.
What was your biggest takeaway from this year's Wrestle Kingdom?
It really felt like, and you and I talked a little bit about this last night, these shows had Dick Togo's fingerprints all over them. It didn't feel like a Gato and Jado show. Or Gato and Jado. I don't know why I mixed up the vowels on those names.
It's mostly Gato.
There was a lot of interference. I think there were 2 ref bumps on night one. The shows were still good. The matches were still very good. They're still better than you're going to see pretty much anywhere else in the world. The wrestlers are, first class. I did think it was weird after they kind of set the expectation that Wrestle Kingdom is when everything kind of resets. We get new champions, all of that only about half the belts changed hands.
Yeah.
There's a new world champion.
It usually tends to be like a status quo change.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay. This is what 2022 is going to be. And granted, the very top of the card, Okada is the new champion. Tanahashi wins the U.S. title back. Chaos has the tag team titles. But I mean, it looked for all the world like Takahashi was going to take the junior title. I expected, Chaos to beat House of Torture for the never openweight tags. Eagles and Tiger Mask kept the junior tags. Yeah, it didn't feel like as big a change as you kind of come to expect from a Wrestle Kingdom show. Aside from, the huge news of Okada winning the belt and
and Shibata calling an
theoretically,
audible and deciding to legit change the match
yeah,
into like I had thought like that was a work just because of the way that Kevin Kelly and I forget the other commentator's
Chris,
name. It's from New Zealand.
yeah, I'm
Um,
blanking on his last name, Chris something.
Apologies,
Somebody's
Chris. But I
Chris
yeah,
Charlton.
I thought they were like just like playing into it.
Yeah,
But it turns out Shibata legitimately asked for the microphone and said, "No, we're just gonna do a straight up wrestling match," and everyone was like, "Okay,
it's like we're not going to tell him
you
no.
should." I mean, who's gonna stop him at that point?
Right? Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
problem.
Yeah, Narita
And
wasn't
Ren,
going
Ren
to. Narita
Narita
was
was
all about
like,
it.
"All right."
Yeah.
My sensei just basically gave me permission to punch him.
Uh huh. And he did a
And
lot.
ooh, yeah. If there
That
were
was a
any
fun match.
doubts about Shibata's like ability,
Oh,
that match just
he's ready. He's back.
it's crazy. I still winced like every time though,
Oh
of
yeah.
course.
Well, it's
Because you
like
can't you can't just come back from an injury. And by the way, Dave Meltzer, no, you don't take someone's brain out of their skull to have a brain surgery. I don't know if you saw that, but he
I
was
did
tweeting
see that.
he was tweeting like, yeah, they took his brain out of his head for a bit and during surgery. And like,
No,
you can't do
like
that. It's
that's
not
not.
RoboCop 2
It's
where
not
they
RoboCop 2.
take
It's not that Treehouse of Horror when
yeah,
Mr. Burns puts Homer's brain in the robot.
or like the guy
Um,
from or the doctor from Nightmare Before Christmas where he just opens
right.
his skull.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let's get to some wrestling.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got our first 5 matches. We're doing this in a brand new way so that it can be we're just gonna go right through them. I don't know how necessarily. Oh, what happened?
Well, we're off to a great
Well,
start.
yeah, we're off to a fantastic start. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, it had
There's
to catch
Robert
up.
Martyr.
There we are. But right now we've got Robert Martyr, the South City Stretcher.
Yeah. A rookie. This was his first year in the business. He'd been a referee up until this past year. Um, he's on his way up. He's ranked 498 in the PWI 500, so he just barely makes it in. But he made a few enhancement appearances on MLW Fusion. Did some work in Game Changer, IWTV. There's not a ton of info about his wrestling career because it's still very new. He's just getting started, as opposed to his opponent, Tetsuya Naito. Dan Engler, the referee for this match.
Tetsuya Naito, one of the best holders of the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, uh, in my opinion. I think he put
Yeah,
on some of the best title defenses next to Nakamura.
Nakamura. Yeah,
And for a while, him and Nakamura were kind of like showing off who the better champion was because uh, it came into play that the who would main event Wrestle Kingdom at the time while that belt was still pretty high profile, and the fact that there was a feud going on that the Intercontinental title was actually main eventing over the heavyweight championship was like a big deal.
mm-hmm.
Naito finally got his not his world heavyweight, but his
Yeah,
heavyweight championship,
yeah.
and then was able to unite, have those belts united, losing to Evil,
Evil.
who betrayed him
Mm-hmm.
by showing off that he was now going to join Bullet Club. Uh, Naito has some of the coolest like swagger about him.
Yeah.
He showed up after like an excursion, just kind of being like, "I'm gonna be, this what was I think it was called like the Stardust, like that was like
I think that's right.
kind of like it was he was going for like a very kind of crowd pleasing all the time
Mm-hmm.
style, and then showing up in Mexico, being part of I can never say this word.
Ingobernables.
With the originator of it. I'm blanking on everybody's names. He's
you
this is
need a nap.
not a good day for me. Anyway, starting his own version with De Hopon, and his
Yes.
whole attitude changed. He started wearing suits to the ring.
Yeah.
He started. Now people wonder why he does this move. This was him mocking the crowds that were unfortunately being racist to him about his being Japanese. So he would do what is like called the round eye move to anybody who's like any fan that would mock him.
Yeah.
As a way of like, what was that? Like kind of like in a weird way of like the opposite of
Yeah.
that,
So,
just
yeah.
kind of like
I can
mocking.
see what you're
Yeah,
doing.
I can
Yeah.
see what you're doing. And it was I love that he just decided to be like, you know what, screw you. I don't need you. And it came from like a legit kind of heat of him and being, adverse with the crowd. But I've loved Naito's Destino finisher move, mainly because of Kevin Kelly calling it at the end. I've never heard it's like a football match when someone scores a goal. Some of the great commentators just going 7 minutes straight of saying goal,
Yeah.
but with Kevin Kelly, it's Destino. And
Or
man, the
like
head of hair on Naito's head.
or Joey Styles calling the gore.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's all I know about Naito. Let's talk about his higher rank or lower ranking rather opponent.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, not a lot out there because he's during the evaluation period, which again, for those of you this is the first time joining us, we base this on the PWI 500, which evaluates the top 500 wrestlers in the world from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. In that time frame, Robert Martyr, the South City stretcher, had 9 matches, of which he won 1. So he's primarily an enhancer. As I mentioned, he's done a lot of enhancement work on Fusion. He has started to win matches around the independent scene since the evaluation period ended, which at this point is 7 months ago. But yeah, Martyr he's a guy on the come up. He was a true rookie. Last year was his first year in the business. So as you've probably noticed just from the 10 minutes this match has been going, he's very much a technical guy. The whole stretcher gimmick. He likes a lot of there's an STF. You've seen a lot of like top wrist locks, a lot of kind of traditional, and some of that is based on the fact that he's so new in the ring. That he doesn't have a huge move set yet, but he's very much kind of a grapple based. I'm sorry, what was that?
A lot of variations on cross faces, and a couple of chicken wings in there as well.
Yeah, so we're seeing basically he's trying to out wrestle Naito, which is
not always a smart move.
Not a great idea. Naito's been at this 16 years at this point, and Martyr's rookie. Nice clothesline there from Martyr. Does have some striking ability, but the fact that he's lasted almost 12 minutes in the ring with according to PWI, the 15th best wrestler in the world during that evaluation period, pretty impressive. But he had his first ever title match on September 11th in IWA Mid-South. He was in a 3-way elimination match with Logan James and the defending champion Aaron Williams. Williams wound up retaining in that. But yeah, so he's shown up in IWA Mid-South. He's done a couple matches in Combat Zone now. Looking at his list of opponents, it's a lot of people that we have seen or will see throughout the course of the tournament. When he was on Fusion as an enhancement talent, he lost to guys like Calvin Tankman, Dominic Guarini, Kevin Koo, guys like the King Mo. He, lost to Dominic Guarini in a UWFI rules match in IWTV, which is, we've talked a little bit about that when we were talking about
not confusing
Glate.
at all about that division.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. we were talking about Glate last week.
Jeez.
Yeah. So those matches are happening stateside now, and Robert Martyr faced Dominic Guarini in one of those last April at the family reunion show on IWTV.
I will say that the two of these guys right now have been going pretty even keeled.
Yeah,
blow for blow, a lot of hard hitting strikes on each other.
it makes me wonder if
may
Naito
have
came in.
underestimated him.
I think that's exactly what happened here. Is that Naito? He's former world champion. He's one of the most recognizable faces in the business.
There's an interesting lock.
Yeah, it's sort of it turns it into an.
Not sure who had the upper hand on that one, actually.
Yeah. Well, Naito looks like he's. I'm hoping, both for Naito and Martyr's sake, that Naito has finally turned it on, and that he's like, oh, I've played with my food too long here.
Yeah.
Maybe I should put this poor kid away. Ooh. But a nice, tiger suplex there from Martyr right onto the logo. Doesn't really, well, he's just going to go for another one. Oh, no, Tiger Bomb.
Tiger Driver.
Stacks him up. 2, 3. No.
Ooh.
No, 2.9.
Very close.
All right.
Nice. I thought he was going to go for a Falcon Arrow.
I thought so as well.
To a reverse DD.
Low drop kick from Naito. And overhead belly to belly.
A lot of variations on suplexes, a lot of overhead locks.
Driving that elbow into
on strong strikes, like that elbow into the
right onto the trap muscle.
Oh God,
it's gonna make it hard to for example, or Destino when your shoulder's all messed up.
What I love about the Destino is that what can usually be seen as like a running move, like he literally just kind of like plants, launches himself over, and you see the effort that is put into the technicality that is needed for that move. Yeah, but Martyr can't get too excited about hitting a good move on
another big clothesline.
Naito.
He's
gotten close though. He's gotten super close.
Yeah. Oh, not STF, STO, or downward spiral into the sort of like an arm bar version of. I guess
that was enough.
Yeah. And Naito's like, all right, well, that didn't need to go 20 minutes, but it did.
And he is tranquilo in this match.
Yes.
Nice victory for Tetsuya Naito, the former unified champion, and whose destino as of his own is a mystery this year in New Japan, but we will see what goes on forward for him. But here comes Gino Medina,
Intocable.
Intocable.
The untouchable Gino Medina.
Why didn't you just say that?
Heel heat, I guess.
I guess so.
Doing it. And
it worked when this gringo can't say anything. It's time for some cowboy shiz.
I love Hangman's entrance music.
Hangman's entrance is fantastic.
He has one of my favorite entrances in wrestling, and I love that he can do different stuff with it, like when he had Dark Order all come out with the whole cowboy intro. So there's your AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Hangman Adam Page, who in the real world has put on 3 consecutive 5-star matches.
Yep.
Against Kenny Omega and then Bryan Danielson twice.
2 opponents, 3 5-star matches.
Yep.
In the past year.
If there was any doubt in the early days of AEW that Hangman was the future of the company, those doubts have all been put to rest.
And it's because not only is he worth it for the amount of talent and following and natural charisma that he has, but the way he was booked just made him the most believable underdog into a legitimate champion.
Yep.
And there's no question that, I mean, when he was gone just for a little bit and then showed up at that ladder match, the casino
Ladder
ladder match, which is such a weird concept. It should just
Yeah,
regular ladder match.
you should just be there. Yeah.
The pop that he got was huge, and winning the belt in such a great way, defending it against Brian twice, and then really like doing something that isn't done nowadays, which is having a follow-up legitimate ending to a match, because Brian's story right now is kind of done. Which is okay for him, because now he can, pull back and we could see what's next for Hangman. But man, those just in that, oh god, the guy is so good. He pays attention to every single detail he puts out there. He makes you notice tiny things, so that when they come up again later in stories, or even in moments in matches, you're like, oh, that's just like when this happened 6 months ago. And you're like, man, this guy is smart. And all he did was start out as a school teacher.
Yeah. Yep. School teacher with
Imagine
a dream.
being that kid, senior school teacher.
Right.
Bleeding out his face.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, that's Hangman. He was number 34 on the 500 this year. He's got to be in the top 10 in 2022, right?
Absolutely.
Like, how do you not? I mean, unless somebody's about to have a killer 6 months, like
top 5 by the end.
Probably, yeah. You gotta. Roman is still, in contention. But yeah, I think Hangman has surpassed Kenny as the top guy in AEW, which is crazy. Having your new world champion be the top guy in your company after beating the previous top guy.
Thought how built up from day one.
Yeah, it's weird that's how that works. I
don't know who's booking the show, but somebody needs to tell him, that's not how you do things in wrestling.
No. Like, for the year, Hangman in singles matches between July 1st, 2020 and June 30th, 2021, 17-2.
That's a workhorse right there.
That's a workhorse. That is, and that's not including going 10-4 in non-singles matches. Like, he's been protected. Like, you build a guy up, you have him win his matches.
And I don't think it's a guy that even needs protecting. It's just that the way he's booked makes you legitimately buy into and how well of a wrestler he is. It's not like, like someone who's, for me, when I see protected, it feels like, okay, this is someone who doesn't have really the skill set. You can just rely just on them to get themselves over.
Right.
I feel like,
I guess when I say protected, I mean AEW made such a big deal and got so much crap early on for saying wins and losses matter.
Right.
And the way that Hangman has, when I say it was protected, I mean he won significantly more than he lost.
Right.
When you're building up a guy as the top guy, you can't have him go 50-50 in the mid card for a year and then win a number one contenders match, and now he's the top challenger.
That was the other thing. It's like people said, oh, well, how are they going to make wins and losses matter? I'm like, well, they have to win and they have to lose. So it's going to take a bit before these things actually count.
Yeah. There have been in, a little over 2 years, the company's been up and running, about 3 years since it was announced, 2 disqualification finishes in the history of the promotion. Wins and losses matter.
And why is the most recent disqualification powerful? Because it tarnished a winning record in the beginning of a year.
Yep. The records reset on January 1st. So because CM Punk attacked Shawn Dean, MJF is now 0-1, which basically means there's no way he shows up in the top 5.
Have been happier. Oh my God. That was hilarious to me.
Yeah.
And I just love MJF is coming next. He's a big prick. I hope he loses. We'll see you soon. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, Tony.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's the one guy they break. Uh, they're biased about.
Yeah,
They're like
absolutely.
they'll call out the rule breakers. Like obviously they don't like Don Callis. They don't like the Bucks and Kenny cheating. But the only guy on the entire roster that the babyface announcers hate is MJF.
Despise.
Which, whoa, Gino Medina with a pile driver
Oh
on the
my
floor at the
gosh.
15-second mark. Is Hangman getting counted out?
Hurry
19.
up, Hangman.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Cutting it close as Hangman
that
Page
was close.
right into another pile driver from El Intocable, Gino Medina from Major League Wrestling, former member of the Dynasty.
And an
And that
upset
does it.
win.
Hangman goes down in the first
Wow.
round of the 500. Gino Medina, the
A couple of
479.
pile drivers will do it.
Jeez.
No.
I mean, we didn't get a lot of time to talk about Monterrey, Mexico's finest son, Gino Medina.
But he's clearly proving it.
But yeah, look at that. And here's a recently independent wrestler, Eli Isom, one of the last remaining members of Ring of Honor's Shinobi Shadow Squad with the world famous CB from Rensselaer, Indiana. His first time in the 500.
Is he going to be the infamous CB now?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. The infamous CB. I like infamous. And there's Red Dragon's Kyle O'Reilly, who
apparently is cosplaying as someone from Goodfellas.
Yeah. I don't know what's with the hair there. He's harkening back to his early Undisputed Era days.
Very, very much. A Paragon player, if you will.
Yes.
If we are to believe the very highlighted promo and recent copyright leak. Trademark.
Oh, I hadn't heard about the copyright.
Yeah. Somebody found the trademark that AEW did for a logo of Paragon, which is pretty cool. I have to send it to you. And just as a title. So it seems pretty obvious that Paragon is going to be the trio's name for Cole, Riley, and Fish.
Nice. I do. I really like that name. I think that's
O'Reilly. I will never be able to not think of that commercial. Thanks to Kyle O'Reilly. It's a regional thing, I guess. If I'm not sure
how we've definitely got him here.
How far across does O'Reilly Auto Parts?
I don't know.
Is it nationwide? But yeah, Kyle O'Reilly immediately coming into AEW with the buzz of this is not me trying to be cool Kyle, or this is me, the fighter, the violent artist, which I love that name. And immediately hooking up and becoming Red Dragon once again, like no dancing around it. They were just like, yeah, me and Bobby Fish, we're back as a tag team.
Yeah.
You and me, Adam, we'll see.
Yeah,
Adam's like,
maybe not as
let's
cool.
get the whole family together, right? It's like when you have two separate groups of friends and you're like having them all together at the same time, and you just want to make it comfortable for yourself to be like okay to interact with both sides without having to like switch to the type of person you are in front of one group versus in front of another group. The Bucks, I feel like this Paragon joining eventually is going to lead to a Bucks face turn.
I agree.
And I want that trios match of Hangman,
and the Bucks against the Paragon,
and then against the Paragon. I think it could happen.
I think it could. I think the Paragon, if booked right, which I have faith that AEW can and will, can be enough of a kind of existential threat to AEW to reunite the Elite. In their, kind of maybe not their original form, because I still think that there's a full-on heel turn coming from Cody. But Hangman and the Bucks and possibly Kenny when he returns.
That's the thing for me. It's like Kenny said he didn't watch the footage, so he didn't see that the Bucks didn't stop Hangman from, from winning. And will that come into play? Like, if anyone can make it work, it's the four of them.
Yes.
So I trust it.
Yep.
I'm very much looking forward to what Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish do, especially if they're going to be climbing up the tag team ranks, and the Bucks are going to be looking at them like, that's kind of our thing.
Right. Yep.
And if a trios belt does get introduced, this is the perfect way to divide and conquer, where the conquering part is capitalizing on this hot new trio, who basically we're all just like, well, the other group, the whole Wednesday Night War thing didn't work out for us, so we're over here now.
Yeah.
And the fact that they acknowledge that stuff happened over there and that they're not just, friends.
Ooh, step up Enziguri out of the corner from O'Reilly.
Because Kyle O'Reilly's fresh off of the Adam Cole feud.
Yeah. Yeah, that was. I mean, that was Cole's last feud in
with Von Wagner, who's been there the whole time.
The whole time.
He was just over there.
Yep. Hanging out with LA Knight.
Now, if Roddy Strong sticks with NXT, Diamond Mine, great. Go for it. Will it last? Probably not.
Probably not.
But Malcolm Bivens can do well with that stable. Or even just man the Creed brothers, as it were.
Did you see Bivens' promo about how he's volunteering his services to do twin magic with Almost in the Rumble?
That was hilarious.
Yeah, that's
I love Malcolm Bivens.
Sort of a nice little tongue-in-cheek, like, yeah, the other promotion maybe has some problems with race. We're going to pretend that ours doesn't.
Yeah.
But we'll also make a joke about how all black people look the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a very WWE joke, but Bivens is just so charming and so good that it worked.
Yeah.
It worked for me anyway.
I think Malcolm Bivens, again, it's the charm that he has, that he's able to keep me still interested in Roderick Strong, who I feel NXT has completely watered down everything that he has done. Especially with no division for him to be a champion for. And I guess 205 Live becoming live. I don't know. It's not even live anymore.
Nope. It's
Kyle O'Reilly, I honestly thought was going to have an NXT championship run at some point. I really did.
Yeah.
And it just, again, curious, strange bookings. But I do look forward to seeing how much of the, not that they didn't really hold back, but Kyle O'Reilly actually found some more of his own kind of fun personality in every time that he would come down to the ring, strutting the belt with the guitar. I was like, I need more of that. I love how great he wrestles, but I love when they just get to be sometimes when the serious wrestler goofs off, it comes across so much more endearing.
Yeah. I mean, Kurt Angle made a whole career out of that.
Yeah.
That he was a wrestling machine between the ropes, but 2.9. Isom almost got him. Ooh, spinning back fist from Kyle O'Reilly. No, you sit down. Oh, a PK to the spine. Rolls through. He's been working that kind of rolling heel hook through most of the match.
He's wrenching his leg back to the top of his head.
Yeah. That's Isom is a flexible guy, but that's not feeling good.
Not sure what that taunt was, but
my suspicion is that that the person who uploaded that was the closest thing they could find to the Undisputed Era taunt. Yeah, that's my guess, but it yeah. All right, and now Isom's going to charge in, little stinger splash in the corner. Going to do it the other side. Nope, he's just going to casually follow him in, and O'Reilly's going to make him pay for it, but then get punched in the gut.
O'Reilly and Fish are going to be eternal.
There it is.
That heel hook is devastating.
Yep.
And I look forward to seeing how, again, another thing that AEW has been good at has been establishing multiple finishers for their talent.
Yep.
And O'Reilly, God, I'm just already frothing at the mouth of an O'Reilly Danielson match.
Oh my God, that was going to be so good.
Now we have, I believe this is, go try to take a guess before the graphic. Nope, I was wrong.
What was going to be your
Atlantis
guess?
Jr. I was going to just say Atlantis.
Oh, yep.
Make a
Close.
cheap joke about how we found him, but
yeah.
Atlantis Jr. Atlantis does have one of my favorite luchador masks, though. I just love the design.
Very cool design.
Now, this is Atlantis Jr., El Hijo de Atlantis.
That's right.
Like the legit son of Atlantis.
The actual son of the original Atlantis, yes.
There's something to be said about the titling of Mexican wrestlers that we always have to like disclaim.
That's right. Yeah, like there's a difference between just look at the parks. There's LA Park, there's LA Park Jr., there's LA Park Negra, and there's El Hijo de LA Park.
Right.
LA Park Jr. was the original LA Park, La Parka for old school. Brainbuster to the floor from Machine Gun Carl Anderson to start the match. This one's
Carl Anderson doesn't mess around. And Anderson, another fantastic wrestling last name. There's been Carl Anderson. There's been Ken Anderson, of course. Arn and Ole, the originals and actuals Andersons. Brock Anderson, the son of Arn, who looks legitimately just like his dad, minus like 50 pounds.
Yeah. And 30 years.
Although Andersons have always had like the dad look about them.
Oh, Arn Anderson looked 57 when he was 28.
Yeah.
Like he's just got an old man face.
Old man's face, old man body, but like jacked up soccer dad. Like
yes. Yeah. The guy that like can wear a cable knit sweater to the bar and you still don't mess with him.
And aviators.
Yeah.
Always aviators.
So going back to the analogy, like typically in Lucha Libre, if somebody is junior, it means they were kind of bequeathed the title of.
Yeah.
So like Rey Mysterio Jr. is not the son of Rey Mysterio. He's
Liger Bomb.
He was given the mask by the original Rey Mysterio, making him Rey Mysterio Jr. To going back to the power bomb, only two, says Jessica Carr from WWE.
There is El Hijo de Rey Mysterio.
Yes, and that's Dominic.
Right.
He is the actual son.
If you were to go with the full luchador title.
Yeah. Which, if this was in AAA or CMLL, that's probably the gimmick you would be going by.
Probably.
Is El Hijo de Rey Mysterio Jr. So there is, like, we're going to see him later on tonight, so he's a good example. Dr. Wagner Jr., not the son of Dr. Wagner, got the Dr. Wagner mask.
He's the
Lost
inheritor.
the Dr. Wagner mask in a mask versus mask match against, I think, Psycho Clown.
Yes, my boy.
And then now there's an El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr.
Right.
So he is the son of Dr. Wagner Jr., who was not the son of Dr. Wagner. And naming conventions in Lucha Libre is weird.
It's like Pentagon Jr. El Zero M. Or Penta El Zero Miedo, depending on... I just call him Penta.
At this point, it's so much easier. Spinebuster from Carl Anderson.
Yeah, like the original Pentagon... Again, just a AAA wrestler. But it's interesting because it's like basically they treat their luchadors like superheroes, like movies, franchises.
Yeah. El Hijo del Santo is one of the
titles that follow.
Yeah. Yep.
If you want to watch, go back a few episodes and just listen to us talk all about the insanity that was Sin Cara.
Oh God. You mean Mistezis or Drolistico or Caristico or Sin Cara Negra?
Oh man,
my word! And now it's just back to Mystico, and everything is right with the world. Mystico, formerly a top 5 wrestler on the PWI 500, has fallen very, very far. Hopefully, his return to Mexico and his return to his original name will help that.
Let's talk about Carl Anderson.
Let's.
Chad, too bad.
Chad Too Bad. Man, I love those. Those was it Wrestle House? I can't remember what
Yeah.
they call those alt shows. Um, yeah, Anderson is just kind of an untapped potential as a character guy because he's oh man, Poison Rana from Atlantis. Because Anderson's always been, he was a backup character in the Bullet Club. He was,
He's an original Bullet Club member.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't remember that he started out pretty prolific.
Sunset Bomb from Atlantis Jr. 2, 3.
Oh,
huge upset. Atlantis Jr., the 354 seed, knocking off number 159 Carl Anderson with a Sunset Bomb.
Wow.
In less than 10 minutes. That's the shortest match of the night so far.
I mean, I was going to run off about how, Carl Anderson had G1 Climax runs and like prolific singles runs, but Atlantis Jr. just decided, no, we're done here.
No, we're done with that. That's the shortest match we've had since the EC3 Tyler Bate match back in episode 7. It's been a while since
you, Atlantis Jr. And that was Alan 5 Angels of the Dark Order. Who's now going to be facing off against this man who has everybody has a similar pyro, but we are an equal opportunity with that. Right. Shuji Ishikawa, excuse me,
from All Japan Pro Wrestling, challenged for the Triple Crown last year against Suwama, came up a little short. Did have a pretty good year, especially in singles. Was 11-7-1. Did have one draw. He was co-holder of the All Japan World Tag Team titles with Suwama. They lost those a little over a year ago today. It was January 2nd of last year at the AJPW New Year's War. He won the Gaora TV Championship from Jun Kasai. I'm going to take a wild guess what kind of match that was. It was a glass board, barbed wire board, TLC death match.
It was on the tip of my tongue.
Yep, I could tell. That's why I figured I would help you out with that. That was from an event.
I mean, this guy's body just screams death match.
Yes.
Just like when I see the big Japanese guys who are just all one solid mass, I don't think of technical, or I don't think of I mostly think they're going to knock you out, or they're going to obliterate your body with weaponry.
Yep. And
most of the time I'm not wrong.
That's what Ishikawa does. That was the title of the show that Kasai Ishikawa match. The show was it was from last March, called Special Box Office Blood Fight, Jun Kasai versus Shuji Ishikawa, Crazy Monkey versus Giant.
You may mock some of those names, but do you know some of the other ring names of Mr. of Ishikawa?
Lay on me. I don't have those handy.
Giant. Giant Bashoku. Giant Hero.
Yeah.
Giant Marines.
Okay.
Hiroku Mangrove.
Hiroku Mangrove.
Jade Ace. The Mummy. And my favorite, well, it's the Big Shoe. Big Shoe.
Big Shoe. Shuji Ishikawa.
Got a really big shoe.
Got a really big shoe. 6'5", 287 from Iwata, Shizuoka, Japan. You can guess between Crazy Monkey versus Giant which one Ishikawa was.
Also, one of his names, Koo, Koo.
Okay.
I don't know the significance.
Nope.
Oh man.
Cool.
All
right. That's cool.
I love Big Japan's the Big Japan Deathmatch Heavyweight Champion, Big Japan World Strong Heavyweight Champion, the Ikitosen Strong Climb. I don't know what that is, but it is apparently, well, now I'm looking, a professional wrestling round-robin hardcore tournament held by Big Japan Pro Wrestling. with a span of 2 years to determine the best wrestler of BJW's strong division.
I mean, it's going to take us well over a year to crown a winner of the 500. So we're closing in on you there.
Oh man.
Yeah. It's going to take 50 episodes of 10 matches each.
We'll get there.
Ishikawa just planting a boot in Alan Angel's spine.
Alan Angel's, the majority of his career has been AEW. If anything, like he benefited from what happened with the pandemic and early matches like Dynamite tapings having to take place at the factory in Atlanta, and then he was booked that night, and he had a fantastic showing. They were like, "Let's put you in the Dark Order," and he has he and the rest of the Dark Order have just really shined with, especially with all the backstage segments that they do on Being the Elite. And recently now they've let him kind of come into his own. A lot of people who follow him online know him as part of the Vlog crew with Sammy Guevara. They really allow for, letting the fans attach themselves to the talent. And Angel's very quick with striking, like super fast in the ring.
Double stomp to the head.
And recently has decided to he's still Alan Five Angels, because all Dark Order members for the most part go by their number. But he has dropped the mask. He has revealed himself to be like, this is me, the Alan Angels, and now we're getting a little bit more of who Alan Angels actually is. He is a bump machine for sure. That's one of the things I love about all of the members of the Dark Order, is that every match they make everybody look fantastic. And they get their fair share too. Surprisingly strong, and not just in the video game sense. Alan Angel's surprisingly strong. Same thing with John Silver. Just Stu Grayson. Like they're. I guess it's a bald guy with beard thing.
Well, they're all body guys.
I've known to lift a 4x4.
I've seen it.
I mean, just a piece of wood. I don't mean like a tractor or anything.
Yeah. It was. They were really upset with you for doing that, because that was holding something up.
We can't air that. Actually,
it was a load bearing.
It was a test strength thing we were trying to do for the show, and then like it didn't work out. Lawyers came into play.
That's how I dislocated my elbow. We going through going through a table. I wasn't supposed to go through a table.
The Juggalos?
I just tripped. That's right.
Holy crap. We got to talk about that video after the break.
Maybe we'll watch that together after.
We might have to watch it
after the break.
If not, I will just enjoy it.
I spotted that on Twitter last night and had to send it over to you.
So stupid.
So stupid.
Angel's taking a beating though.
But he is. He's hanging in there. He's lasted 13 and a half minutes.
It always is fun to me to see, like, when it's big guy, and I don't want to say little guy, but like, less than big guy.
I mean, compared to Ishikawa's got him by 118 pounds. Like it's in 9 inches in height. Like,
I just love the idea of, like, is he toying with him? Or should I? Oh, I need to take him a little more seriously. And then when they
caught that, but Angels just threw the discus lariat, shades of Brody Lee.
And then when they do end up like, oh, I really should beat the hell out of this guy, then they just murder them.
Run up Benzagiri. Angel's putting a nice run together here.
Is Angel's going to get the upper hand using the quickness?
Ooh,
maybe not.
When Ishikawa buries a knee in your kitchen sink.
Maybe not. To the solar plexus.
Right in the bread basket. And a big close. That's a clothesline. He didn't swing the arm.
That's right. He ran into the clothesline. He did not throw.
Ooh.
Nice variation of a lung blower.
Yeah. It was almost out of a tiger suplex. Or not tiger. Dragon. Dragon suplex, yeah.
Folks, there's a lot of wrestling moves. We're not going to get them all.
There are.
We're not Taz.
And we know them. We just can't always recall them when the time comes.
We're not Taz. We're not Excalibur. We're not,
Yeah. It's a dragon because the dragon suplex is out of a full Nelson because that's the snapdragon that Kenny Omega does. So maybe I was right. No, because Tiger is like what you do a Tiger Driver into. Is that a butterfly suplex?
That was like a catch and release. Just straight up like grab, throw. Some suplexes don't have names. They're just grab the guy, throw them onto the other side of the ring.
Yes. Backstabber from Angels, but he's really struggling to catch his breath. He has had the hell beat out of him here by Shuji Ishikawa, who then just PKs him right in the chest.
That'll do it.
Derek Moore, 2, 3. No. Angels kicks out.
Getting a second wind.
Nice striking combo there. You mentioned Angels' speed earlier. Now it's Ishikawa having to catch his breath.
Ducked it.
Went for that knee again, and Angels saw it coming. Not that time, though.
Now, why do they call that the kitchen sink?
I don't know. Well, he's
high
going
angle
for an atomic
backdrop?
drop? No. Looked like it was a backdrop suplex or an atomic drop, and instead he just
kind of like
turned it
into
almost
a
an
choke slam
uranagi.
too, but
oh my gosh, Rikishi driver. Or what is it?
Angels
Fire
is
Thunder?
barely-
Is that what the
yeah,
Japanese
Samoan
name
driver, I guess.
Yeah, they're kind of feeling each other out again here. Ishikawa sends Angels into the corner. Big clothesline.
Well,
Okay.
Nelson, no.
That's a dragon suplex.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
And
We've settled on that. We
into
know that
the
one.
turnbuckle. Uh-oh.
Angel's like, no. Oh, man, that roundhouse kick to
interesting.
the back of the head. I don't know if he got all the way up to the head because that head is very high.
Uh-oh.
Okute Yobori.
He's stealing his move.
And he doesn't go for the pin
Isn't
off
that
of
what
it.
that means? They do that?
That's right. Yeah, he was using Angel's own move against him.
My goodness.
Another dragon suplex.
Folding him in half. I think that New Japan actually announced that they're coming out with a new video game in February.
Oh, really? Nice.
I forgot what it's called, but I have to look up now.
Well, if it's another Fire Pro, I've got my work cut out for me. Elbow to the back of the head from Angels. Oh, it looked like he was going for a choke slam, but Angels turned it into an arm drag. Not that I've ever quite seen that counter to that move before. And Ishikawa's like, no, this time I just choke slam you.
Done messing around.
Asai DDT from Angels.
Crazy.
And now a butterfly release suplex. Collar and elbow, and Ishikawa's like, no. We're ending this now. Fire Thunder driver, Samoan driver, Rikishi driver. There we go. Third time's the charm. And Shuji Ishikawa, it was the 5th match, and 5 was in it, but the numbers just didn't line up. The numbers don't lie. He had a 33. Nope, not doing it.
Nope. I was trying to see what you were gonna pull off, but nope, not enough.
I was gonna try it, but
you think Braun Breaker, new NXT champion, is going to do that?
I hope so. I hope that they at least not, especially since now they're acknowledging that Impact is a thing.
That's true. Well, that was our first half, folks, and when we come back, we are going to have our second half of the show, obviously, because that's what follows a first half.
Typically, yeah.
But we're going to take 5 minutes, and when we come back, we're going to talk about NXT, as New Year's Evil just happened, as well as basically not just a symbolic showing of change with Braun Breaker's entrance, but a lot of real life see you later exchanges. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that. And then the second half of our tournament, we will be back in 5. We'll see you then.
See you then.
Welcome back to the 500. I'm Mike, that's Pat, and we are here, but I'll tell you who isn't here. A lot of people from NXT.
Yeah,
And,
pretty much
ooh,
everybody that isn't Matt Bloom that was associated with training people at NXT.
or Triple
gone.
H, for that matter.
Or Triple H. Or Norman
So,
Smiley.
in more budget cut news, or, well, honestly, actually, WWE wasn't even really shy about it this time when they were asked. I believe it was Sean Sapp who reached out to WWE and asked them, "Hey, do any of the cuts? What are the reason for the recent cuts this time?" And they said, "Well, basically, as we're evolving the NXT brand into different things, we're kind of out with the old and in with the new." So they were not shy at all about basically saying, "Yeah, anybody that Triple H had as part of this team, they're gone."
Yeah.
And who was on that team? Well, William Regal being the most shocking to me personally,
Yes.
because that is, and not just because, obviously great talent to have in general, but just from the matter of coaching and experience and teaching that he can provide, which from every talent that has been talking about it, he gave, whether prompted or not, and the amount of experience that he brought to the table, that
23
surprises
years
me.
with WWE.
Not to mention that you have all these collegiate athletes coming in with no true wrestling background, and you fire Timothy Thatcher, you fire the other coaches. It's like you said, it's like it can't be, Matt Bloom just coaching 50 new people, and that's it. It's this is crazy. So Road Dogg got fired.
Ryan Katz, Chris Guy,
Steve Carino's sister.
Yeah,
I know her as cheerleader Melissa, but I can't remember.
And Allison. Was she also
Allison Danger? Yeah, she was Allison Danger. Yeah. She that felt worse to me because she uprooted her whole life to move to Orlando, and then she finds out that she's fired the day of her kid's first day at school. Like, that is just,
it's a bad look if nothing else, but it's
like, I have no understanding of the corporate world in general when it comes to this kind of stuff. But like, these are just people on a spreadsheet, apparently.
Yeah.
So no foresight into the future, other than like, more than likely, here's what's going to happen. NXT is going to have a new name by the end of the year.
I suspect so. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if after WrestleMania it's known as something completely different. They made it very clear, almost obnoxiously so, that this isn't the old NXT when Braun Breaker breaks through the X logo of the old black and gold before he ends up winning the belt from Tommaso Ciampa, who, if they're smart, which I don't think they are right now, they would keep on as a coach for these people.
Yep.
But I just...
And honestly, I think that's the only way Ciampa survives the year in WWE is if he becomes a coach. Because there's no place for him on the main roster.
No.
There's no place for him in NXT. So what do you do with him? You either release him.
He doesn't want to go to the main roster. He's made it very clear he doesn't want to go to the main roster. I don't blame him.
Gargano's already gone.
Yeah.
Like what reason does he have to stick around? If WWE doesn't want him to show up on Dynamite or Rampage, they're going to have to make him a coach.
And the thing is the same with Samoa Joe, who got now fired for the second time in 12 months. How is Samoa Joe not being used as a performance center coach, or even as a commentator, or even just like something that a role that he grew into? Great. I started like looking at all of these things and realizing the more and more like that it's sinking in about no one is safe. How long before they just make Triple H just a road agent?
Yeah.
Or Shawn Michaels just has a Legends contract and isn't even put in like a development role.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. The sacred cows of WWE are no longer a thing unless you're Roman Reigns or the Four Horsewomen.
Or Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Yeah, the current list of coaches, I just pulled up Wikipedia. The current Performance Center coaches, obviously Matt Bloom is the head coach. Sarah Amato is his second in command. Sarah Del Rey, Fit Finley, Johnny Moss, Ken Doan, Norman Smiley, Robbie Brookside, and Terry Taylor. Now, Finley, I suspect, will stick around because
that's the thing.
I think
we
Vince
can't even
Finley.
say that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that with any sort of confidence. I'm saying, like looking at it, like I don't think Sarah Amato is going to last the year because she was definitely a Triple H hire. She's not a Vince guy.
No.
The only guy on the list that feels like a Vince guy is Ken Doan.
Yeah.
And he's the most recent of those. Like, for all we know, at the end
he's even
of
the most expendable
2022,
too.
the Performance Center staff is just going to be the Spirit Squad. We're going to have head coach Dolph Ziggler with Kenny Doan, Mikey Monto, Johnny Jeter,
and Mike Mondo.
Nick Mitchell.
From personal experience, having worked with him for several years in NWA, absolutely is one of those great player hands.
Mm-hmm. Mondo would make a great coach.
Mondo would make a fantastic coach. The guy has such a prolific background and knows how to. He is the perfect kind of guy who can take the serious wrestler and show them how to exhibit personality. Mm-hmm. Because Mondo is exactly the kind of guy who was a great wrestler, fantastic fundamentals, and then just let out the silliness and let it draw the people in.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's so lacking because, and this got brought up actually in commentary on the Shibata match in Wrestle Kingdom. Shibata has the best sense of fundamentals because he can do them better than anybody else. Yep. And that's always the key to me about anything. If you can do the fundamentals as good as you possibly can, they will make up for anything that you lack. And that is such a huge thing in wrestling that I feel needs to be emphasized with new talent. Mm-hmm. Make them do the bare bones, the best that they can. Mm-hmm. Make them incredibly good at the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Then let those little things shine that they can do that others can't.
Yeah. Well, and that's a big part of why New Japan Strong has worked so well is Shibata's fingerprints are all over that show.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, the people he's training there, the Alex Coughlin's and the Carl Fredericks.
Fredericks is insanely good.
Well, one of and we're about to see
your talents.
He's coming up on this show. He's got a match against Brian Johnson coming up here.
Lead singer of AC/DC, Brian Johnson.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see if he can hit his finisher, Thunderstruck. For those about to wrestle, we salute you. I'm going to refrain from making big balls jokes.
We'll get them all out. Get them all out now.
But, Balls Mahoney.
What do you think? Like, is what can possibly happen in NXT now as a brand?
Anything.
But it's easy for us to say that because truly we have been like looking at this with such morbid curiosity in a way. How many times can we say the old NXT is dead? Because they keep trying to, like, I heard somebody say it's like, okay, NXT has been dead. Now it's just people being shuffled out of the wake that have been there for too long. Like, there's no more food left. Just go home. Like, there's nothing left.
It's the kid from The Simpsons. Stop.
Yeah.
He's already dead. Also, the Braun Breaker breaking the X logo.
Overkill.
I know Cody Rhodes
overkill, in my opinion.
Cody didn't invent that when he smashed the throne with the sledgehammer, but it's not a great look to be like, to criticize
your
Cody
own
for
company.
That. Yeah. Especially in the wake of all the releases.
History is going to look kindly on Triple H for what he did with NXT's initial run. What he did for the talents that came in, signing, and bringing to the forefront guys like Kevin Owens, guys like Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, all of them, Rollins, Ambrose,
Nakamura,
and then especially with the way the women's division was booked with the
Mhm.
Four Horsemen, with every up until like a few years ago of everyone actually being able to successfully jump over to the main roster
Mhm.
from the women's division. And you can see though where it just you can like it's and if you pause it just right, you can see the exact moment that Triple H's heart breaks. It's so it unfortunately works so well. And yes, he had his reign of terror with the World Heavyweight Championship and killing the mid card and whatever it may have been, and all the stuff with Booker T that happened, and just a bad run for a while trying to
Yeah.
be the guy to hold up WWE. But if it wasn't for that initial run of NXT up until like 2012, uh, a lot of what WWE bases itself around now would
Mhm.
not exist.
Nope.
Uh, and I think it's nice that he's actually having some time to be a human being at home and
Yeah.
rest with his family and realize like there is a life outside of being a workaholic. Uh, I feel bad that something that could clearly have been. It felt like once he found the good hands to put the show into,
Mhm.
that whole team that essentially got let go was going to be the people who ran WWE
Yeah.
from then on. And then Nick Khan showed up and kind of spoiled, and pissed in
Yeah.
his cereal there. Oh man, but just like that, it just it sucks when you realize at the end of the day it always just comes down to money.
Mhm.
At these people's lives who, their livelihood, their work that you can associate so much with the people you see go to their job every day on television.
Mhm.
But then you forget about all the other people who go through the exact same situation of uprooting themselves, moving to a location to have this new job that, you know, if anything, contracts are going to be exposed so big with
Mhm.
way WWE does business. Especially with like BFAB saying like they are the craziest things in the world. You sign on and you have to time that they sign you for. Do not have to commit their time
Nope.
back because at any point they can say, "Yeah, we said 3 years, but 7 months should be fine. Bye."
Mhm.
And then that's it. No 2-week notice, no like,
Yep.
where on the flip side, most majority of all the other professional wrestling promotions, if a talent leaves, it's either because they did not re-sign
Mhm.
or there was a mutual agreement or it's a disciplinary move.
Mhm. Yep.
It's not a, well, bye. Like
You're you're never going to read a news article where New Japan releases 22 wrestlers. Like
right,
that's never going to happen. Well, part of it is that New Japan just does a year to year tour and everybody re-ups their contracts in December and
which
January
is
for the next
smart.
year, which is really smart.
It's kept them in business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it also helps keep it fresh. You'll
Yeah.
have up years and down years, but you can lose Prince Devitt and Shinsuke Nakamura
And
and
then gain
the level of
Okada and
talent.
gain Naito and gain,
Exactly. A whole new generation steps in. It may take them a couple years to get up to that level, but we're starting to see that now, where there had been kind of a lull over the last year or two. The pandemic obviously hurting that, but coming out
oh,
of
and
Wrestle
letting people
Kingdom,
go in the midst of the pandemic. I mean,
yeah,
but
yeah,
record profits.
yep.
That's so conflictingly
It's amazing how much
just
money you save when you don't tour, but you don't have enough money to pay. Keith Lee.
Keith
How do
Lee.
you how do you
Keith Lee.
how do you let Keith Lee
Come
go?
on.
How do you ruin Bray Wyatt to the point where he doesn't want to re-sign his contract and he leaves?
Like, take what's going on with Marco Stunt right now in AEW. He's injured.
Yes.
And, he's not going to be able to do the dates in his contract.
Mhm.
It sucks. But they're keeping him on because they know that when he comes back, he will continue to fulfill the dates.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, well, you're not being used. It's not the what are you doing for me lately
Mhm.
style, which is just Anyway,
Yes.
let's talk about things.
Let's continue the 500.
Let's continue our series of happy things with this tournament.
Even if it does mean we have one of the founding members of Retribution in our next match.
Now you gotta say it right.
Retribution!
Yell it to the side.
And Francesco Akira taking a long moment at the top of the ramp.
He needs to let us do our bit. He was very nice in that. All Japan representing.
Yep.
Francesco Akira,
the child prodigy,
conflict of nationality.
Ragazzo Prodigio. My Italian is probably terrible. It is terrible.
It was not that Italian. Bad. Your Italian is as good as my Japanese.
It means the child prodigy.
Yes,
he's a young man, Francesco Akira, only about 6 years in the business, from Bergamo, Italy, giving up a lot of size here to
against Dominik Dijakovic.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't believe we still have to call him T-Bar.
No, he's not T-Bar. I mean, he's not T-Bar on TV anymore. Like,
no,
Retribution isn't a thing anymore.
No,
he's not even in the tag team. Like, it just be Dominik.
Yeah,
why?
I enjoy the way that PWI wrote him up this year. Once promising NXT star Dominik Dijakovic underwent a metamorphosis in 2020, becoming the masked T-Bar within Raw's Retribution stable. Alliance only lasted 5 months before he and partner Mace put Mustafa Ali through a table. Pair now competes in Raw's congested tag division. That was, of course, as of June.
As what, though? Year. Like, I don't even know.
Nope. He, yeah. T-Bar.
Let's look up Dominik Dijakovic, shall we?
Let's. He faced Keith Lee for the NXT and the North American title when Lee had both. Came up short. A week later, he was Karrion Kross's last opponent before his main roster call up. Before Dijakovic's main roster call up. Kross's came later and was more disastrous. Then Retribution happened 2 months later, and then lasted 5 or 6 months. And that was Dijakovic in the evaluation period. 10-12 record, 7-10 in non-singles matches. Just not a great year. He was 3-2. He had 5 total singles matches during the evaluation period, and he lost 2 of them.
Ring of Honor top prospect as Chris Dijak.
Mm-hmm.
When he was Dijak, he was touring the indies and putting on barn burners with Keith Lee of Pro Wrestling Guerrilla.
Yep. And then by that point, he was Donovan Dijak.
Dijak, right?
Yeah.
And he showed up as Donovan Dijak initially on NXT for like a second.
Mm-hmm.
Was being managed by someone. I can't even remember who. And then that was gone. And then they decided, hey, you did some great stuff with... Do it again. And they did.
And they
Needless to say, they had fantastic matches against each other. But then he shows up as T-Bar in what can only be explained to me as Vince McMahon saw some footage of Antifa and decided to turn it into a gimmick.
Well, that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Because it's like, why Vince? or more than likely it was Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah,
I don't even know if he was working in there, but I just blame him for a lot of bad takes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if it's production wise, it's Kevin Dunn's fault. If it's creative wise, it's probably Pritchard.
Yeah. But the problem is that T-Bar, whatever you want to call him, he's a great wrestler. He is a great wrestler. He is he explodes in the ring with energy, and he really puts on these just bomb fests.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I give him a little credit for like at least committing or attempting to commit to what they've given him so far.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't speak for somebody as far as dignity goes,
Right.
and like your look into how you're going to be perceived in the long run. But
Yeah, not great, Bob.
not great, man.
It's, yeah, yeah. My heart goes out to Dejiko, and for all I know, he loves what he's doing. I
Yeah,
have a
and if
hard time
that's the
believing that,
case,
but
great.
Yep.
I just wish that they just didn't slap these ridiculous things onto them and expect us to take them seriously.
Yeah.
That's where it really bothers me. It's like, you really wait, you think this is scary for me? Like, you think I'm threatened by this kind of person?
Well, I mean, if we're taking it back to Vince or Pritchard saw news footage of Antifa, that is what scares them.
Yeah, that's true.
Building a wrestling stable around it is, I guess we should be grateful that that's what they did instead of, calling up Legado del Fantasma and turning it into a migrant caravan coming over the border. Retribution.
Yeah, why I should hope that they would never do a stable of like wrestlers from Mexico.
Yeah,
and like decided to have them ride in on lawnmowers or something.
That would be
right.
Yeah. Oh, huh.
Yeah, Mexico.
But at least it wasn't like top tier, like legendary luchadors like Juventud Guerrera and Psychosis and Super Crazy. Nice Meteora there from Akira.
Yeah, let's move on. Quickly moving on.
Yeah. So Francesco Akira won last year's All Japan Junior League, and then won the junior heavyweight title from Koji Iwamoto at man, I love the names of Japanese wrestling shows. Champions Night from the land of the Triple Crown unification fight to the 50th anniversary. He then held that title for quite a while before eventually losing it to Shugi. But he held the title as of the end of the evaluation period. Kind of a 50-50 booked wrestler in the evaluation period, but he did come on strong at the end with the junior league victory. He's one of the top stars in All Japan right now. Yeah. Obviously he's
only 22
Italian.
years old.
I'm sorry?
He's only 22.
Yeah. Yeah, he started he made his pro debut. Retribution's coming. He started his in-ring career at age 16. He's a very young man, high ceiling. Dijakovic, by the way, that top rope springboard tope.
People forget that Dijakovic is
270.
People forget that Dominic is a high flyer of sorts.
Yeah, he's very much in the vein of Keith Lee. Like he's a big guy who no wonder they match up so well.
Speaking of William Regal and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, I did love that when he was the agent and like a recruiter, he basically went to Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, went backstage and went, okay, everybody.
Yes. Pretty much.
Come on in. Do this warehouse buy.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it was
went to Reseda, California and said, how about all of them?
Yeah. It was basically an episode of Storage Wars. He just went and was like, okay, I want that whole locker. That's also like what they did in the UK. Like they decimated the UK indie scene because they just went.
Yeah, Progress has only just now announced that it's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because they finally have enough people to wrestle after NXT UK is pretty much being given like, that's obviously going to silently be put away next.
Yeah.
Because that was another Triple H thing. Anything that basically is the non-reality show version of NXT was Triple H's idea.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
He wanted to basically, that was like his thing. He wanted to franchise that within a Mexico and a Canada and a Japan promotion. Needless to say, not going to happen. And
so you got
NXT
the UK.
UK is definitely going to be quietly put out to pasture.
Yeah. Triple H, at least I think his ultimate vision, like you said, we're talking about franchising. I think he wanted a new NWA.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
Triple H had his way, there would be WWE strongholds on both coasts,
Hmm.
Canada, Mexico, Japan. Uh, a huge untapped wrestling market that is only now starting to get some attention is Africa.
Yeah.
There's, I mean, WWE's got a couple wrestlers, Kofi Kingston, Aziz, like they've got some, almost, but huge untapped market there. The
And signings from China,
Yep.
signings from just a lot of like international. He really was real. I will say he really was trying to push for the international
Yeah.
wrestling
Oh,
exposure. Oh,
small package for Francesco Akira picks up the upset, not a massive
is it
upset,
an upset?
306 over 207.
I
I
mean,
think at this
it's
point,
definitely a
no.
surprise.
I think at the time of the 500 being published, yes. But I think at this point, their careers at the time of publication were going opposite directions.
Right.
And Akira is still on the way up. At this point, I don't consider that an upset.
Yeah, this is one, this is the other.
Yeah.
Here we have the unmasked Dr. Wagner Jr. A
Yes.
lot of people don't who are unfamiliar with as we were talking earlier about the legacy of luchadors. When a luchador loses a mask, it is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
They either are retired or they are a completely different persona. There
Mm-hmm.
are some instances where uh it is different for the narrative because no one else is there to take over the persona,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more just you've lost your mask. And in most cases it's when they change their character alignment.
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah.
but by the way, this is not one of the members of the gun clubs. I just want everybody to
No, no. Bobby Guns from West Side Extreme Wrestling in Germany is not an ass boy, as far as we know.
thank you,
Um,
Danhausen, for introducing that. Yes, yes, hurt the ass boys.
so that Ring of Honor, going back to briefly to the the OGK and Vincent and PCO showing up. PCO for quite a bit of the final days of ROH was teaming with Danhausen.
Yes.
So are we going to see Danhausen in Impact?
He'd be a perfect fit.
I think he would be.
Yeah,
I also think
absolutely.
he'd be a perfect fit in AEW
Yes.
because I would love to see him feud with the Ass Boys. We talked last week about the comedy gold that's waiting there with him and Britt Baker and with him and Darby and Sting.
Did you see the video he made about his public announcement of his being a free agent, where
No.
he parodied everybody who made like a prison video, and he says,
Uh-huh.
"Yes, I'm now escaping," and it was just his friend saying, "Like the gate was open the whole time. Like you weren't a prisoner here. Like what are you talking about? I could have left." Hmm. He has like the very Doctor not Doctor Girlfriend, the Monarch voice from Venture
Yes.
Brothers.
Yes, he does.
But
Yeah.
yeah, he just
He's
walks out of the backyard on the crutches. Could have
I
left this
got to
whole
check
time.
that out. That's fantastic. I should mention, by virtue of his victory over T-Bar, Francesco Akira will now be facing Kyle O'Reilly in round 2.
Let's hope he has
And
the parts for
yeah,
it.
and the winner of this match will face Gino Medina, who we saw earlier upset Hangman Page. So we want to get that little bit of business out of the way.
Yeah.
Dr. Wagner Jr.
Big old
55
beefy
years old,
too.
35-year pro,
Yeah.
comes to the ring to Bad Medicine by Bon Jovi, which is just not a thing he could do in the States. I mean, I guess he probably could in AEW. I imagine TK would shell out the money for that.
If he was to be played by anyone in Hollywood, it would be oh god, now I can't remember. Deathstroke from Justice League recently.
Joe Manganiello.
Joe Manganiello.
Yes.
Yeah, he looks
Yep.
just like him, and
Yep.
even more jacked, which is
Yes.
which is crazier.
Yeah. 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 Dr. Wagner Jr., one of the biggest stars in the history of Lucha Libre. Like
Both
he
literally and in stature.
Yeah. I mean, 5'10", 216 is not huge by wrestling standards, but by lucha
But compared against other
standards,
AAA stars,
yeah.
he's a monster.
Yes, absolutely. He, we mentioned earlier he did lose his mask to Psycho Clown at Triple Mania a couple years ago, which was the main event. Even though there was a ref bump. Dick Togo's booking this show.
Hey, no ref bumps allowed here. I mean, if they are, they matter.
And he's bleeding, I think.
Yeah. Oh, not good.
John Cone looks like he's busted open.
Oh my gosh.
He is.
That may be our first ref bump and ref bleeding.
I think he just went head to head.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I don't think that was a planned ref bump. I think that was we're shooting, folks. I think they just legit bumped heads and got in each other's way. Yeesh. And John Cone's just gonna bleed for the rest of this match. That's fun.
Sorry, John.
Yep. A little hazard pay.
Don't worry, we'll take care. We take care of our virtual talent.
That's right. So here's how much of an icon Dr. Wagner Jr. is, and how how long he's been doing this. Do you know what year Dr. Wagner Jr. made his first appearance in the PWI 500?
Well, I know that he's 56 years old.
Yes.
So taking that into consideration,
and keeping in mind the PWI 500 has only been around since 1991, I think.
Right, which is 30 years.
Yep.
So I'm going to say he was. Now, this could go either way because I feel like you're trying to trick me. I'm going to say he was actually a late bloomer on the PWI.
1997.
Okay, I was wrong.
So he was you were sort of, it was like right in between your two analyses where he was not there.
You still tricked me.
A little bit.
You tricked me by tricking me.
He was a 10-year vet when he made his first appearance in 1997.
And all considering, that does make sense. Because the list was relatively new.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. When you look at those early years, it's very much like the top of those lists. They were very WWF and NWA, WCW heavy.
A lot of North American
in the early years.
Very just like Canada and United States.
Yeah. And like the top guys in Japan. So, your Misawas and your Kobashis and your, Taoes and your Kawatas, guys like that. Plus, Dr. Death and, the Gaijin that went over during those years. But yeah, it was definitely not the international flavor that it became. 2 years later, in the 1999 500, he hit number 16, which he's done twice. He did it in 1999 and then again in 2010. But he's been around the 200s for about the last 5 years or so. He's no longer the top draw in AAA, which we now know. They've gone all in on El Hijo del Vikingo.
Indeed. And rightfully so.
Oh, absolutely. Fantastic. The whole, Jinetes del Aire and, even Los Psycho Circus is still a huge
Real quick,
deal.
though, did you catch Azteca Underground's debut?
I read a recap. I haven't had a chance to actually watch it.
I would go out of my way to see it. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. That's
Cesar Duran is my favorite authority figure on television ever.
Oh, Duran is fantastic.
And Alexander Hammerstone is a huge superstar. I can't get it out of my head every time. It just works so well. But yeah, he did. That was a great showing and is fun show in Tijuana.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to check that out. There's just so much wrestling over the last week,
which is great.
That's great. It's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have when you're us.
It's my plan pretty much the rest of today is to make the most recent title changes in Fire Pro so that the right people are coming out with the right belts, because that's a thing that probably only I care about, but I care about it for you. I want when
we do this for you.
But yeah, absolutely. Like, clearly we're not doing it for us. We are not having a good time at
No,
all.
this is
This
terrible. I'd
this
be
is
rather be doing anything else on a Sunday than
I
watching
would
wrestling with my friend.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is not something that has brought
It's a
to
job, folks.
yeah.
I do
We're
this job.
we're but we are not getting paid for it. Slave labor, really.
Yeah,
You
it's
you
all right,
you
let's not
people
shoot.
are yeah. We're getting, I'm gonna stop that analogy right there because veering into dangerous territory. Bobby Guns,
Bobby
one of the top
Guns.
stars in WXW, which is
Yeah,
probably at
shooter.
this point, due to the aforementioned collapse of the British Indies, it's probably the biggest promotion in Europe right now.
Yeah.
Based in Germany. Bobby Guns is German. He's from Bremen. He's only a 9-year pro compared to Dr. Wagner. I don't have Bobby Gunn's birth date in front of me, but I suspect he's less than 35 years old if he's a 9-year pro. And so that means that Dr. Wagner Jr. was already a veteran when Bobby Guns was born.
Bobby Guns is 29 years old.
29. There you go. He was a 6-year veteran. Let's see, 29 would put him at what, 1992?
Yeah,
so
92.
When Bobby
He
Guns
actually
was
just celebrated his birthday, December 28th.
nice. So when he was 5, Dr. Wagner Jr. debuted on the PWS. Wagner driver on the chair.
Ow.
And Bobby Guns bounces back.
The Doctor Bomb, by the way, is devastating.
Yes. He's going for the Wagner driver again. Nope. Guns. Oh, I thought he was going to backdrop out of it.
Guns out blazing.
Nice roll up there. John Cone, somebody get that man a Band-Aid.
Yeah, we need to clean that up quickly.
Yeah. Bobby Guns for over a year was the WXW Unified World Wrestling Champion. Another Wagner driver on the chair.
That's got
to do it.
Yeah. Yep. There's
Wagner
no
driver
way.
on the chair. Dr. Wagner Jr., the number 290 seed, moves on. That's in the running for match of the night. That was a fun one to watch.
That was fantastic.
Dr. Wagner Jr. now will face Gino Medina in round number 2. That
could go either way.
Yeah, we already saw one upset from Medina, the number 479 seed. We'll see if he can do it again. And
there's my boy Carl Fredericks
earlier.
Not as flared up in his gear as he has been lately on New Japan Strong. But man, Carl Fredericks, I had watched him when he was starting out as a young lion on the New Japan shows. Before the pandemic started, he was getting a good run. If you're unfamiliar with New Japan's Young Lions program, they are... Oh, and I'll get to them soon, but Brian Johnson, the Mecca, as he calls himself.
Yes.
I love his entrance in Ring of Honor as he demands to announce himself to the ring as he's coming to the ring.
Yep.
Philadelphia's own Brian Johnson. But Carl Fredericks, probably one of the standout young lions out of the recent dojo class. He's been having a fantastic run in New Japan Strong. I truly hope that eventually he gets a shot against Tom Lawler for that Strong championship. He's got the charisma, he's got the build, he's got the attitude, he's got the skill set. I think, wait, did he win the Young Lions Cup recently?
I believe he did. It was after the evaluation period, so I don't have it in my notes, but I think he did.
I'm going to look him up real quick. 31 years of age from fantastic breakout star right now, dominating in California. Yes, he was a 2019 Young Lions Cup holder.
Okay, so it was before the evaluation period.
Yeah, before the evaluation. Really, really, he calls himself the Alpha Wolf.
So
I'm very impressed by him, and I love, like, he's just one of those guys that draws your attention when he comes out to the ring.
For some perspective, Carl Fredericks won it in 2019. Previous winners of the Young Lion Cup: Masahiro Chono in 1987, Satoshi Kojima in 1994, Manabu Nakanishi in 1995. Say what you will about his WWE run, but in Japan, Kenzo Suzuki was a big deal.
Big time.
And he won the Young Lions Cup in 2000. Ryusuke Taguchi won it in 2004. Hirooki Goto won it in 2005. Like, this Young Lions Cup is legit. This isn't just let's send the rookies out there and have them do a thing. This is New Japan's way of saying you should be paying attention to these people.
Absolutely.
And
that's what I love about their.
Yeah,
I've always loved that about their program, is that you legitimately watch them build a wrestler from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the dojo and you're wrestling on a New Japan card, you are limited to the amount of moves that you are legally allowed to do. Like, there is its own rule set canon for Young Lions. You are limited to the amount of gear that you're allowed to wear until you like basically experience point level up.
Right. Yeah.
To gain new gear, to gain permission to, do more moves and have your own signature style. Eventually, when you go out to excursion is when you're able to build your character, you build your persona that you're presenting yourself as when you come back. And recently we've seen the Great Okan, we've seen Okada was one of the standout ones to come back from excursion and become, what he is known now as the Rainmaker. Same with like Kenny Omega, same with even Juice Robinson, who went through the dojo system after his WWE run.
Yeah, he was a young lion after he was I keep wanting to call him CJ Parker, but that's not right, because that's
no, I know you're talking about.
That's Miro's wife is CJ Parker.
Fergal Devitt becoming Prince Devitt, and even Carl Anderson was part of the dojo program. A lot of great modern talent has come from the dojo program, and it's something that I feel like can carry over in North American and Western wrestling. In terms of, like, I don't think necessarily the brutality of training that they have to do.
No.
But there is something to be said about watching a talent be, groomed in front of you for the superstar that they can potentially become.
And we talked earlier about being protected, right? About, wins and losses mattering, and who you win against and who you lose to mattering. I'm looking at the results of that 2019 Young Lions Cup. Fredericks went 6-1 in the cup that year, dominated the field. Do you know who his only loss was to? Ren Narita. Who, if you watched Wrestle Kingdom,
the star pupil of
is the star pupil of Shibata. Like, that is his new, like, you saw that match and you saw
that's his protege. Yeah,
he's still in the the black gear. He hasn't fully graduated from Young Lions House, but here he is at Wrestle Kingdom, being the hand-picked guy for the return match. Like, Narita being the only guy to beat Fredericks, that's going to play into a storyline once they're both in the main unit or have been recruited to one of the factions in New Japan. Eventually, they will pay that story off because they had the foresight 3 years ago to be like, okay, these are our guys. These two and Shota Umino were like their guys that they were focusing on in that tournament.
Shooter, as Moxley called him.
Yes, yeah. It's I don't know. It's really impressive the way.
Now you got me excited for Fredericks versus Narita.
Yeah. And like I said, because Fredericks has challenged Lawler for the strong openweight title, but the Carl Fredericks that challenged for the strong openweight title last June is not the same Carl Fredericks that would be challenging for that title now.
Yeah.
The growth he's had over 6 years.
Young Lions do not win if they're facing off against like their dojo trainers or any talent that isn't another
Right.
a dojo
Another young
competitor,
lion. Yeah.
or another young lion, be that on the West Coast or Japan. So when you see them gain a victory that is credible, it's a big
Mhm.
freaking deal.
Yep.
Even if they're on a team of veterans, the fact that they're amongst them is a
Yep.
sign of respect and
Yep.
notoriety.
Yep. And you talk about not winning. Ren Narita lost to Shibata on
Yeah,
day one of Wrestle Kingdom, but because he has now been associated with Shibata, because people, I mean, the Japanese fans are smart. They already know him from the Young Lion program,
yeah,
so they know what he's capable of. But just the fact that he was in that match means as much as it would have if he had beat, a Carl Fredericks or a Shota Umino or a Yuya Uemura or, somebody else at that level, in the dojo or Young Lions guys. It meant more to see him lose in a respectful way
yeah.
to Shibata. Um, yeah. But Brian Johnson, we've barely talked about it all. 12
Lead
years in the
singer of
business.
ACDC.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, only a 12-year pro in wrestling, but God, what, 40 years now as a top name in metal?
Yeah, 13 years vet, and in Ring of Honor has been his biggest kind of breakout performances while it was still active. Um, who knows if he'll be back for? I would suspect he'll be one of the talents, certainly to be brought back into the fold um, when, if and when, I should say, because I'm still, you know, I'm just not
Yeah.
too confident that it's going to be coming back the way they say it's going to come back.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm a big fan of his cockiness. Um, he is a Philly guy. He proclaims it to be that he calls himself the Mecca of pro wrestling because he is the one that all eyes and attention should be focused
Mhm.
on when thinking of pro wrestling. He is definitely a pure wrestling big he was big in the pure wrestling competitive scene while
Mhm.
Ring of Honor was kind of like winding
Oh.
down, I guess, towards its end of its last year.
Mhm.
Made a name for himself mainly on ROH television
Mhm.
with him like announcing himself to the ring.
Yes.
And again, it's just one of those things where it's like it's a simple gimmick, but it's
Mhm.
effective.
Whatever it takes to stand out, even something simple. And yeah, Johnson definitely still had a long feud with Danhausen in the final year and a half or so of Ring of Honor. He challenged Dragon Lee, which you can. It was a YouTube exclusive. It was never shown on television. But if you go to Ring of Honor's YouTube page, you can see Dragon Lee against Brian Johnson for the ROH World Television title. Um, Spoiler alert: Dragon Lee won. Brian Johnson was never the
I don't think there are
ROH
any
TV
more Ring
champion.
of Honor spoilers to be had, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the match is almost a year old. Brian Johnson's got a chair,
Yeah, he's
but it's
not
just
afraid
good.
to get a little hardware technical in there.
Yep. The referee is Jason Ayers. It's a WWE heavy referee show today because there's not a whole lot of WWE guys wrestling.
Who knows how much of any WWE is going to be left by next year?
That's fair. That's very fair.
Don't get attached, folks.
Yes.
Just don't get attached.
Well, I mean,
Everybody can be
considering
fired.
yeah, considering when the evaluation period ended for the PWI 500, uh, Brian Danielson was still in WWE. Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Adam Cole, uh, Ruby Soho. Um, Basically, anybody that's shown up September or later in other promotions was still in WWE at that point.
Brian Johnson does remind me a bit of Zach Gibson. Um,
Yeah, I can see
in
that.
just that real like explosive I just want to murder everybody attitude.
Yeah, and cagematch.net calls him a technical powerhouse, which I think is a good way of
Very fair
describing
to
his
say.
style. He's he can he can do the pure style, Ring of Honor style, but he also he'll also just drop you with a DDT. Like
Oh
he's
yeah,
just
slap you in the face,
yes, he's
smack you over the head with a chair.
yeah, as evidenced, and in fact, I think is he looking for process on the chair? Oh my
Apparently.
god! Just dropped him head first on it.
Will he go for the pin or will he try to submit? That's
sort of a sloppy swinging neck breaker there, but
it was
enough.
effective. I liked it. It was kind of one of those like almost like a reverse version of what Cody's finisher is.
Yeah,
like an inverted inverted angle
won.
version of it.
You can get up now.
Yeah, he's definitely tired.
Brian Johnson's been studying his Eddie Kingston tapes. Bro, I was so triggered by having beat you. I just lost consciousness while I was kidding you.
It's time for NXT original.
Yes, day one. Who could forget his series classic matches with Johnny Curtis and Lucky Cannon?
The former Eli Drake, the former Impact World Champion, the former NWA standout in the beginning with in Los Angeles, now going up against Soberano Jr. of CMLL.
The Sovereign, the CMLL, he's the middleweight champion. I think he holds multiple titles. 1 second. I have that somewhere.
I got it. You could call this match. you know how to call these things better than I do.
I don't know about that, but he's also the Mexican welterweight champion. That's the he has 2 titles in CMLL.
And one of the rare Mexican wrestlers you can look up whose name you will not know for real.
Yes, that's right. He is
in a world where all information is accessible. The fact that you could still be a kayfabe luchador is mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's a big thing in Lucha Libre is the respect for privacy. When the mask is on, unless it's something where you, like for example, Dr. Wagner Jr. People didn't know who he was or what he looked like.
Didn't know how handsome he was underneath that thing.
No, he's he's a good-looking cat for mid-50s. I guess 50s like the new 30.
That's what we tell ourselves.
That's what we tell ourselves when we're pushing 40.
When we get older. Everything that it gets older, it's like, this is the new 10 years ago. No, it's not.
I'm still a young man.
It's just a little old. It's still good. It's still good.
Just a little airborne. Yeah.
Eli Drake or LA Knight, whatever you want to call him. I guess you call him LA Knight because that's what he's called. We thought he was going to be the forerunner of the new NXT.
I thought so too. I really thought that's where the feud with Cameron Grimes was going. Was that it was that those two were kind of jockeying to be kind of the next face of the brand, and then not so much.
I mean, there is absolutely room for them to be now. I do think that this is going to be Cameron Grimes' year of climbing to a top position. He's had fantastic promos. He's been talking about not going to be chasing money anymore, going to be chasing my dreams. And
it's just Cameron Grimes has been released by WWE.
And he's gone.
And he's gone.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Obvious low-hanging fruit joke. But
now Cameron Grimes will be great. LA Knight, again, got personality for days. Has an easy style, I guess, approach to I call it the WWE style because it's just, again, it's the rudimentary, a lot of just more personality than it is skill set, which is, it's hard to say because Eli Drake, great wrestler. I saw him in his stuff in NWA and in Impact, great stuff.
Yeah.
His big personality carries over so well to NXT, especially this version of NXT.
Yes.
But in a weird way, he himself gets kind of lost in the shuffle because he doesn't have, hey, what's your thing?
Right. Yeah.
He's just a cool guy.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about that WWE style. and this is going to sound like it's criticism, but I promise it's not. One of the big selling points of LA Knight is he's safe.
Yes.
I can't think of, now granted, I'm not as familiar as you are with his pre WWE, his pre Impact stuff, but I can't think of a match where an Eli Drake or an LA Knight opponent got injured because of, neglect or sloppiness or something. Injuries happen. People, are tweaking things all the time. Code Red from Soberano, 1,
Ooh.
2, and the referee, by the way, the legendary Earl Hebner, because we
Nobody run into him. We don't need a bleeding Earl Hebner.
Yes. Yeah. The first thing is you scream, "I'm a hemophiliac," and then you kick him. Yeah. Yeah. So that's, and that's honestly, that's exactly what the NXT roster needs, because a lot of these new people coming up, not that they're not safe, they just haven't quite learned how to be safe yet before being thrown on international television. So LA Knight is again, this is going to sound like criticism because it's been used sort of derogatorily over the last few years. He's a good hand.
Yeah.
You can always count on him to make his opponent look good and put on good matches. Again, all of that sounds like backhanded compliments, but it's not.
But we're for real. We're really complimenting his abilities.
Yeah. Hagerstown, Maryland's favorite son is a very, very good professional wrestler who honestly deserves better from a booking standpoint, is really my point. He did have that really good ladder match with Cameron Grimes last year. He was part of the Gauntlet Eliminator, again with Grimes, basically the last stand of the old guard. Bronson Reed and Leon Ruff and Swerve Scott. I guess he and Grimes and Loomis are kind of the last men standing of that generation.
Yeah.
Soberano, we talked on previous episodes about how there was not a lot of Lucha Libre to be found during the evaluation period. Just because Mexico, got hit hard by the virus, but also just kind of shut down public events. I was able to find a grand total of 7 Soberano Jr. matches between July of 2020 and June of 2021. He won a battle royal. He won a tag match. I mentioned that he's been the Mexican national welterweight champion. He has had that title since 2017. CMLL likes their long title reigns. They're very kind of NWA oriented in that way. AAA is much more, not that the belt's hot shot, but more so like, okay, this is our top guy, so we're going to move the title to him.
Right.
El Hijo del Vikingo, it was clear that he was getting big reactions when he was part of Jinete Stellare. I guess he still is. But they've been building him as kind of the guy, and then when it was time to pull the trigger on him, they pulled the trigger on him.
Right.
Whereas in CMLL, people will have 4, 5, 6-year title reigns, so that like their way of building up a new guy is, he's the guy that finally ended the long reign of Soberano Jr. It's just a difference in booking styles between the two promotions. And you are either frozen or
no, I'm here. I'm paying attention to the match. I'm invested in it because I really like these guys.
Yeah, this has been a good match. Pull back up, because I was looking at my list of champions here. There we go. Soberano Jr., LA Knight. The winner of this, I've neglected to mention that when Brian Johnson won that last match, he will now face Jacob Fatu in round 2. The winner of this is going to face our opening match winner, Tetsuya Naito, in round 2. So not exactly an enviable draw for either of these guys. Standing moonsault from Soberano Jr. gets 2. So this is the 242 and 271 seed. Nice victory roll from Soberano. I think the first time I
do you think there's an NXT championship run in the future for LA Knight?
I hope so, but I don't know if that's
Would you put him in a
where.
tag team? And if it did, with who?
I mean, I love the way he and Grimes work together. I would love to see their interplay as like reluctant partners.
Oh God,
Um,
can they coexist? Hey,
yeah. All right, little deja vu from Soberano Jr. is what he calls that move. Uh, yeah, 1704 picks up the victory.
plenty of energy left over, not
Yeah,
passing
that's
out on
right.
the mat.
Still, doing a dance in the middle of the ring. Soberano Jr. now gets Tetsuya Naito in round 2, and the time for talk is over. It's time for the main event. And here comes Mr. Pectacular himself, Big Brother's own Jesse Goddard's, the for whatever reason, not his Chiron doesn't point out that he is the OVW National Heavyweight Champion, having won that during the evaluation period, the first ever national champion, winning a Rumble, and he's going against the Pope.
The Pope is in the
who
house.
who you
Elijah
may know.
Burke.
Yep, you may know him as Elijah Burke.
Almost, speaking of Spirit Squad, almost a Spirit Squad member.
He was, yes, and he's probably very glad he wasn't.
Very happy he's not.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Pope, as a former Catholic.
Yeah. Elijah Burke is one of those, for me, one of those what could have been guys. Like, I feel like if Burke had debuted 5 years earlier or 5 years later, he would have been a big star.
Yeah.
But he came into WWE during the kind of dark ages.
Where basically ECW was kind of what NXT is now.
But not with the level of talent that NXT is. Because he was, if you remember, his debut was, he was managing Sylvester Terkay.
I was going to say, do you remember his name?
I do remember.
Sylvester Terkay.
Mostly I remember Sylvester Terkay because one of the guys on a message board I used to post on all the time had as his signature a bad Photoshop of Sylvester Terkay in like Siberia with the caption "Cold Terkay." Yeah, and so that always made me laugh.
So terrible.
It was so bad, but I will never forget Sylvester going "Cold Terkay." Yeah, but those early ECW shows.
But Jesse Goddard, he was he won or he was his first bit of notoriety was coming from TNA's like reality show days of sorts.
Yes.
And Goddard's, and I believe did he team up with DJ
DJZ. Yep.
DJZ.
Yeah, they were, I'm blanking out, the Bromans.
That's right.
Was the name of that team.
The Bromans.
Currently DJZ, formerly Zima Ion, now Joaquin Wild.
Joaquin Wild of
NXT.
Yeah.
Legado del
NXT
Fantasma.
Right now. Oh God, I love, first of all, hearing because I listen to a lot of UK podcasts and hearing them say Joaquin Wild.
Yes. I know. Yeah. And you may have heard, because my first real exposure to New Japan was listening to the Squared Circle Gazette Radio podcast, where they're big New Japan fans. And I still say Shibata instead of Shibata because that's the way they pronounce it. Liam O'Rourke has ruined the way that I pronounce Japanese wrestlers' names. Sorry, you were talking.
No, I'm just
podcast.
Trying to think of like where I always try to think of where I first see these guys. Elijah Burke was definitely within in ECW, and I think actually it may have been because I was big into OVW at the time, especially when it was Cornette and Heyman booking a lot of it.
Yeah.
It was just great television to watch. Jesse Goddard's, I know when I found out he was going to OVW or had been like picking up there a bit, I kind of started watching again. I kind of had forgot about it for a while. I didn't realize that Al Snow was still continuing it. I know he had been part of it for a while, was one of their head trainers. I didn't realize that it was all him now.
Yep, him and Danny Davis. Not that Danny Davis.
Not Nightmare Danny Davis.
No, it is Nightmare. It's not Dangerous Danny Davis.
Dangerous Danny Davis. Okay.
Not the one that our older fans would know, but yeah.
We Nightmare, are right in that nexus point of which wrestling did you grow up with?
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Did you watch the stuff from the 80s and drop off after Attitude Era, or did you find the 80s after discovering the Attitude Era was no longer a thing?
Yes. Sit out DDT from Godders.
But if you're not watching Elijah Burke if you're not watching The Pope on NWA, which just relaunched their NWA Power is back on YouTube. They have a new show, NWA USA, which is kind of more like a talk show type, like more promo show of the old like TBS style.
Yeah, or like the old WWF syndicated shows.
Yeah, and they also now have like their own kind of sub network on Fight TV with all the different programming and stuff. Again, if you're gonna get your wrestling, pay for it. It's the easiest way. Unless you want to find AAA somewhere, then we're not gonna care what you do.
Yeah. Again, hopefully
it'll be all better this year.
Yeah. Hopefully that gets fixed, because
Azteca Underground though is helping. I will say that.
Yes.
But yeah, and check out stuff like OVW. Fight TV has a lot of great stuff for free. You can find a lot of indie wrestling shows. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them on independentwrestling.tv. I say the more that you open your expand your palette, as it were, you may find talents that you can see on major networks in the future and be able to say, I saw them first. That's always a fun thing to have with your own fandom, is being able to be the person that kind of discovered something before others. But just don't be a dick about it.
Yeah.
Just don't be that person.
Yeah. We don't need more gatekeepers in the world.
No. Open the gates.
Yes. They've opened the forbidden door. You can open the gates.
Exactly.
Man, I could have left the whole time.
What is with guys like these who kind of fly under the radar? Where is it? What is it about them that you think others are missing out on? Like, if you had to sell like Jesse Goddard's or the Pope, like what is it that you could be like, listen, I know you've never heard of these guys, but let me, what's their selling point to you, at least?
So for
other than Jesse Goddard's picking up the victory just then.
Well, that was quick. All right.
Good job, Jesse Goddard.
Didn't even get a chance to point out that this is the third time they've met in the ring, and that this is now Goddard's first ever victory over the Pope. They both lost a 12-man gauntlet that Tyrus won at Bound for Glory in 2015. And then last June, they actually had a match for Goddard's OVW National Heavyweight title. Burke won by DQ. Goddard's held the title. Honestly, the selling point for me to get somebody who's not into wrestling, or at least not into Goddard's, is I would appeal to their sense of celebrity. In the 23 years that Big Brother has been on the air, you want to take a guess how many different seasons Jesse Goddard has at least made an appearance on? 12. Oh. He's been a contestant twice, but he has made 10 cameo appearances over the years.
So he is like the guy when it comes to Big Brother.
He's basically the Johnny Fairplay or Boston Rob of Big Brother.
I'm not even a reality show watcher, and I still know who you're talking about because they pop up in the zeitgeist every now and then.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Boston Rob and his wife Amba were they were on every reality show for a while. They were famous for being on reality shows, first Survivor, then The Amazing Race, and even I'm not a huge reality show guy either, but I know them to that. And Johnny Fairplay, you know, he was a wrestling heel on Survivor, so he got a lot of attention.
We always do that
from
like
that. Yeah. And then went to TNA, and, you know, the less said about that run, the better. And apparently
that was
him
rough
just in general.
Never enjoyed seeing a celebrity get beat up more, though.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Sorry, I'm just reading. Maybe if I wanted to introduce somebody to Jesse Goddard's, I would just send them to his Wikipedia page. There's some good stuff in there. Seasons 10 and 11, he was an actual contestant. He showed up during Big Brother season 12. He showed up to give a contestant named Brittany fitness advice. During Big Brother 13, he popped up to offer them a shopping spree with Tori Spelling. He was Secret Santa in season 14. He hosted the luxury competition Dunk-a-Hunk in season 18.
All right. Well,
yep. That's a whole thing.
Catch him on Ohio Valley Wrestling right now.
Yeah.
And
he's one of the top guys in OVW.
So we've had some surprising victories. We've had some upsets, as it were. And moving on, what have we got now? Considering for next week, or at least where the standings are with these guys.
Yeah. So as mentioned, we talked through some of the matches that are coming up. We now know by virtue of that win, Jesse Goddard is going to face Atlantis Jr., Soberano Jr. against Tetsuya Naito, Brian Johnson against Jacob Fatu, Dr. Wagner Jr. against Gino Medina, and Francesco Akira against Kyle O'Reilly. We know based on these matches that those upcoming matches are going to be happening in round 2. As far as next week goes, the current card, subject to change. If go to our social media, you can see all of it up there. And there's a list there of all of the people I'm still trying to find edits for. Just, if you feel like putting together a Charles Mason or Troy Hollywood and uploading it.
Or if you are the wrestler.
And Jason Strife did it.
I mean, there's precedent, folks.
Yeah. So currently, next week's card, Naomichi Marufuji against Alex Zane. Doc Gallows, we saw Carl Anderson in action today. Doc Gallows will be up against the one called Manders. King Muertes from Azteca Underground will be against Tama Tonga. That one.
Tommy Tango?
Yeah, that's right. Tommy Tango. Ali Catch.
I swear they would call him in NXT if they decided to. No one could say that. You're Tommy Tango.
Ali Catch, last seen chasing Paul Shear into the night with a pair of scissors, was it? No, it was just a knife. She just had a knife.
Yes.
She will be up against Drew Parker. Mance Warner and Dalton Castle should be a fun one.
Ooh.
Adam Brooks against Boom Boom Colt Cabana. The King of Strong Style, Shinsuke Nakamura, against another young dragon.
How they haven't given him a surfer gimmick with the amount of surfing he loves to do at this point, I don't know.
Yeah. Nakamura will face Yuya Uemura, another one of those young lions from New Japan. Ilya Dragunov against Mark Quinn.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun one as well.
That man can take a chop.
Yes. And we will see Ricky Starks, the FTW champion, against Joshua Bishop. And Brian Pillman Jr. against Shane Haste of the Mighty Don't Kneel. So that is on the docket for next week. We are closing in we're into the second half of the bracket as it stands, but not into the second half of the bracket as far as number of matches.
No.
Because there are so many wrestlers that I can't find edits for.
Yeah.
So,
and again, this is the first time anybody's been doing this ever. Yes. So,
So it's very much a work in progress.
We're setting the bar, folks.
That's right.
When it comes to something like this, we did it first.
That's right. So hate to, air our own laundry live on the air, but how do you want to do this when we reach the end of the scheduled first round matches? Do we
I don't
want
know.
to?
But we will find out as it goes
We
on.
will figure out. We've still got
We're gonna
2,
play this by ear,
3,
to be honest.
4, 5, 6, 7. We've still got 7 shows before that happens.
Yeah.
So
I think that, if it comes down to it, I may have to boot up the old PS4 and start doing a little editing.
I started to, but it is so complex.
It's so meticulous.
It's so deep.
I do not envy the people who put the time into it, but I do appreciate your work.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you're one of those people and you want, and if this is like your thing, you want to get, you know what, we may even do some searches on Reddit and do some recruiting.
Miguel Francisca, are you out there?
We're gonna put the notice out there. If this is like your bag and you want to be associated by putting your work out there, hit us up. We will make sure that it happens.
We'd be happy to name drop you.
Absolutely. You see where the contact is. You see the social media tags. Hit us up. Let us know. If you know someone who does this.
Yes. If you're friends with Pine
send them our way.
Give them a call or her a call.
And Violet, you're turning violet, Violet.
I am. That is weird. Have I been this purple the entire show?
No, this was only just a few minutes ago. I thought you were just
happening.
I thought you were just getting heated, man.
No. Or no. Yeah, my hands are purple on the screen, but they're fine in real life. So I had a moment of like, am I like, has all the blood gone to my head? Yeah. It's like,
never a dull moment on this show, folks.
Yeah. Medical emergency live on the air.
We're going to call it there for a day.
Let's do it.
And we will see you next time. But please, again, if you have any way of getting us some of those brilliantly designed characters, hit us up on social media daily. Or on email.
I will see it.
Absolutely. We will credit you. We will give you everything. We will give you the world. We kind of played down the bracket, the interactive brackets. Maybe as if we get closer to towards the end, we may be able to hype that up. I know it's asking a lot for people to be invested in that much, but the challenge will still be a thing later on as we get like lower tiers. Yeah.
I closed the voting on bracket 1 just because we've done so much of it at this point. It's not really worth casting a vote for anymore. But yeah, maybe once we get it down to like 64, we'll relaunch that. You can still get in your picks for bracket 2 over at Challenge.
And we will have this episode and all of our individual matches available on our YouTube channel later on this week. Of course, we'll be back next week with our same time and continuing of the 500, as well as talking about all things fun pro wrestling stuff. So
who knows what 30 people will be released between now and then that we'll be talking about.
Who knows? We may get hired and then released.
Maybe.
You never know.
Revolving door.
Because I haven't applied, so I won't even try.
Right.
I thought about it once for a while to be like, is it worth it? And I'm like, no, why would I put that misery on myself?
No.
All right, well,
it's
thank
like
you,
the
Pat.
end of the Sneetches. It's just a revolving door.
Yeah, exactly. I am a star-bellied NXT wrestler.
That's right.
That is clear. That's what makes me different.
Yeah, you got stars
but thank you, Pat, and thank you once again, of course, for bringing this whole thing together. And eventually the DualShock will keep on, right?
Yeah. It only caught me once this time. I was vigilant this time.
It's kind of a fun running gag at this point now.
Yeah, it's the one bit of interference we allow in the
It's a strange signal interruption, but it works.
Yeah. At the 18-minute mark every match.
Absolutely, every time. But yes, if you want to follow our other ventures online, Pat, what else have you got going on?
Well, we took a bit of a hiatus during the holidays, and thanks to COVID-19, which try not to think too hard about what the 19 means in 2022. But Ricky Giraldo and I are headed back into the studio probably today, maybe tomorrow, to get back recording our podcast, Kings of Consoles, where every week we talk about 2 classic NES games, bracket style, very much like the 500, until we find the king of the console. We're down to 18 games remaining from our original 100. We'll be wrapping up sometime in the spring. And then Who knows? Maybe we'll go
Is
on to
Virtual
Genesis.
Boy like out? They're gone.
If I can find a solid Virtual Boy emulator, I will 100% do a season of Virtual Boy. I have Virtual
I
Boy.
hurt my eyes so much playing that thing.
I have ROMs for basically every game. I just don't have a system that can play it.
Yeah.
Which sucks. I mean, it sucked anyway, so I don't know why I'm upset about it.
It's terrible.
But,
it was so bad.
But we may, we'll probably move on to either Genesis or Super Nintendo for season 2. Can I keep it relatively chronological?
Ooh, that's a tough one for me.
Yeah.
I was a bit more loyal to Genesis.
I was a late comer to Sega, but for me, Sega, did you have Sega Channel when you were a kid?
I had the Nomad, my friend. I had a walking Genesis.
Nomad was awesome. We had the Sega Channel, which if you're not familiar with it, it is a thing you rented from your cable company.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Genesis cartridge that was this big, that you dropped into your Genesis, hooked up to your cable internet.
To your phone line, I think, even.
Yeah. And you streamed games. It was Game Pass.
It was
before there was Game
very
Pass.
early streaming.
It was,
but really what it was all the games were on one thing, and you dialed in the number to unlock it. Like that's really what it was.
Yep, it was like pay-per-view for games, except you were paying a monthly fee to have access to them. But like that opened up a whole new world of games for me because Super Nintendo, you played the games that your Blockbuster had available to rent, or that you bought from the $5 bin at KB. Which is how I have a copy of WCW Super Brawl, which is one of probably the 5 worst wrestling games ever made.
By far.
It's terrible. It's real bad. But it is worth
I feel like that's actually something we should do, is maybe like just do a fun like co-play of old games. Like maybe after episode 20, we could do like a little run of look at our favorite actual like wrestling games.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
But I'm excited to see. I do have my loyalties to Genesis. I can't help it. I mean, I went to my friend's house to play Super Nintendo, but they came to me for the Genesis stuff. I was their hookup. And it was weird because I was never a Nintendo person up until like just being with my wife, who was all Nintendo all the time. So it's funny. It's fun what you do for love.
That's right.
You make sacrifices. But actually, tonight I am actually going to be recording the first episode of the Wayfinders Guild with my cast, which is going to premiere on January 31st. It is a real play D&D stream. It is a homebrew world that the cast and I put together ourselves. I had one little basic concept, and I said, let's do this together, and let's make this lore together. It is a very fun concept. I feel like I've taken a lot of all my favorite adventure stories and tropes and fun ways to deconstruct them too. But I'm really excited. These are very experienced players, people I have worked with in some capacity. Some I've met for the first time, but just we automatically clicked. The characters that they have made are like, I don't ask for much when it comes to like creative stuff. To me, it's like, give me a simple little hook and I can attach. They come back to me with layers of things that I'm just like, there is so much.
Oh, we can do that.
Okay, let's do this. So, stay tuned for that. January 31st, that is when it will premiere. It can be the thing that you want to watch on Mondays, and it won't take up a life away from you. And that we should be we plan on doing a one shot next year of a game called Worldwide Wrestling, which is just a very basic, like easy game, but I'm gonna modify it even more to make it simpler, just so I can have my friends do their best Macho Man impressions.
And I'm 100% on board.
I should hope you're gonna be one of them. Yes,
I would love to be part of it. I don't know.
We will catch you next.
My Macho Man impression is.
Oh yeah, it might be a mini game. But we will catch you next week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everybody. I have been Mike.
I'm still Pat.
And this has been Pro Wrestling Simulated. We will catch you next time. Stay too sweet.